The Metropolitan Police on free speech.
Sir Keir Starmer tells police to concentrate on serious crime as Graham Linehan is detained over tweets.
Well, it comes as the gender-critical Father Ted writer was arrested and detained at Heathrow Airport on Monday as he got off a flight from the United States.
But as shoplifting soars, do the police have their priorities in the right place?
Nigel Farage is in Washington. The Reform UK leader will address the House Judiciary Committee in the US Capitol. He'll be looking at European threats to free speech and innovation.
The Chancellor under pressure. Rachel Reeves faces intense pressure as long-term borrowing costs soar to a 27-year high.
You know, it's just so... It's so fake. I knew they were saying, like, is he okay? How's he feeling? What's wrong?
President Trump addresses the press for the first time in a week, hitting out at those viral rumours on his ill health and even speculation that he was dead.
The Trump administration releases thousands of Epstein files. 33,000 documents relating to the late child sex offender have been released, but Democrats suggest most have already been made public.
A show of force to the world. President Xi, Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong-un put on a united front as they arrive in Beijing, with China showcasing its latest military weapons.
And a third of the new Strictly lineup are taking fat jabs, sparking fears stars won't be able to keep up with the show's grueling dance schedule.
And as Nestlé fires its CEO after an undisclosed romantic relationship with an employee, we're asking, is it wrong to date a junior colleague?
And sport this morning in cricket, England are thrashed by South Africa in their first one-day international. Carlos Alcaraz breezed into the US Open semi-final as he has another favourite golfer, Rory, and the worrying extent of cyclist Chris Froome's injuries have been revealed following his crash last week.
Hello there, good morning. A yellow warning for rainfall has been issued across southern parts of England and Wales. Stay tuned and I'll be here with all the details.
Morning, it's just gone 6 o'clock. I'm Ellie Costello.
And I'm Cameron Walker, and this is GB News Breakfast.
Heston Blumenthal. I like him. I like him a lot. Ever since the Christmas pudding in Waitrose, you know, with the orange pudding.
Yep.
Anyway, he's now on a mission to save Britain's pubs.
Yes, that's what we need.
What a good mission I think that is.
Absolutely.
He's very alarmed, aren't we all, that nearly 5 pubs a week have been lost in the first half of 2025. And he says human beings have an innate need to connect. And that's what the Village pub does. He says when a pub closes, it's not just a business that's lost, it's a piece of local heritage.
Well, there's a sense of community, isn't it? And he's not the only one, of course. We've got actor Rupert Everett. He started doing shifts behind his local pub in Enford, in Wiltshire, the Swan. He's done 3 shifts. He has, yes.
I saw that, but he's, you know what? But Rupert, I said Rupert Everett, isn't the guy from another country there? He's serving my beer. It's a bit bizarre. So why was he doing it then?
Well, I think the reason being they couldn't find an owner for the pub, so the locals didn't want it to shut down because it was the only community hub left in the village. The post office had gone, the local shop had gone, as we are seeing with so many villages up and down the country. The pub was the only thing left standing, so the villagers now volunteer to run it. It only does drinks, doesn't do food.
Oh, right, OK. Right.
Yes.
That's Rupert, or is that the pub?
Just the pub.
Right,
the pub, yeah, absolutely.
I think that's great, though. Put your money where your mouth is. I mean, for someone with his means, if he's able to save the Village pub,
yeah,
good on him.
I mean, it is sad, though. Wherever you drive, and I see it all the time, you see an old pub, a closed pub, everywhere, isn't there? There's so many that are just gone by the wayside. I just find it really sad. And there's none, and a lot of them still sitting there. There's one around the corner from me. It's like 3 years, and it's just left derelict. There's so many of them around.
It's such a shame, isn't it? What do you think it is?
I just think we need to drink more alcohol. No, it is. It's just that I really don't know whether it's people. What is it? People drinking at home? Is it people that are not associating with each other, or people? It's just so sad.
Well, I think it's very expensive to drink out, but also it's a nightmare to actually buy a pub. I don't know if you've seen Clarkson's Farm, either of you, but when he was going around trying to buy a pub in the Cotswolds, he found it a complete nightmare, particularly around planning permission and so-called NIMBYs.
Yeah, and there's so many to to buy as well, aren't there, in the Cotswolds? I mean, he was looking at about 30 in like a 10-mile radius or something silly. Well, Heston's also been talking, and I thought this was really interesting, the rise in people on weight loss drugs. He's concerned that fewer people are going to be going out to eat.
You know what?
And
I was thinking that too.
Their meals.
This is the thing I don't quite get with things. I really enjoy eating food. You know what I mean? Is it? That's what I mean. Is there a point where where people are just taking this and thinking, I just don't want to? Surely that's one of the best parts of food is enjoying the food. It's actually enjoying the taste of food.
What about smaller portions? Would that work?
That's what he's suggesting.
There you go. That could be it.
He says we need to have a rethinking of how we serve food in a pub or a restaurant. Maybe we could look at smaller portions, charge half the price, but then the problem would be is you'd still have the same number of staff.
Yes.
Make as much money.
So he's charging half the price. So this is the fat duck. You'd probably get a hamburger for about 600 quid now. Is that right?
I was going to say, and would you charge half the price or would you pay full price and then be accused of shrinkflation?
Well, yeah, there's that as well. So that's what Heston's been saying this morning, backing saving British pubs and also smaller portions for those on weight loss jabs. Let us know what you think on that one. gbnews.com/yoursay. Now, 5 minutes past 6, and politics now, on our top story. Sir Keir Starmer has criticised the Metropolitan Police for their handling of a recent arrest-related social media posts made by Irish comedian Graham Linehan.
Yes, now the Reform UK leader Nigel Farage is set to discuss issues relating to free speech in Washington later today.
A timely visit, you might say. While elsewhere, the government's borrowing costs have soared to their highest since 1998, with 30-year bond interest rates reaching 5.7%, increasing the expense of servicing Britain's debt.
Well, the former Conservative advisor James Price joins us now. James, is this another attack on free speech in this country?
It certainly feels like it, doesn't it? I mean, at one level, it's so ridiculous that we've got, of all the stories we've heard this morning, the Labour Party is tanking the economy, you've got China and Russia showing off new military wares, and worst of all, the pubs are going under, that we still have this free speech argument going on in the country. You've got Keir Starmer a few weeks ago stood next to Donald Trump and said, we've had free speech for a very, very long time in Britain. Well, clearly not. And it's not just happening in Britain. I think this has been happening across the West as well. Somebody like Malcolm Gladwell, a very influential American writer, has said recently that he felt that he was pressured against speaking out on various issues. So people with big platforms like that, let alone someone like Graham Linehan, who has been quite outspoken in a number of areas. But, of course, if you don't have free speech, then you don't have one of the major kind of release valves of pressure. You don't have one of the major ways that we can improve our society, because it's in that kind of back and forth, whether it's polite or, frankly, quite rude, you need to have that interaction and exchange of ideas going back and forth uninhibited so that you can correct course when things go wrong. If I'm not allowed to sit here and say that Rachel Reeves is making a complete and utter farce of the economy, then she might not recognise it and she might not be able to go and fix it. People at home obviously know that, but if we're barred from saying that, then who knows what would happen in the economy, who knows what would happen in society on all kinds of other issues. That's why it's so important.
What do you make of Downing Street's reaction to this arrest? A spokesperson there has said that police should be concentrating on issues that matter most to their communities. They said it's an operational matter for the police, but the Prime Minister has been clear about what their priorities on crime and policing are: tackling antisocial behaviour, shoplifting and street crime, as well as reducing violent crime and violence against women.
Well, those things are all obviously true, but it's not like this government has done anything to help any of that. Right? It was only a couple of years ago that Starmer was going around saying all the sorts of things that Linehan has said the opposite of, that's got him in trouble and got lots of other people in trouble. Starmer has been incredibly weak on all these things, and the government in general has been just reacting to things that have happened all the time. We know there's been a problem with certain elements of policing in this country going after the wrong topic. There's this idea called anarcho-tyranny. Now, bear with me a second. The anarcho bit is the fact that you've got people going around snatching phones left, right and centre. You've got violent crime on the rise, and the police are very concerned about this because they don't seem to feel they've got the resources to deal with it. They don't want it. So in Tesco, instead of being able to just go and get your shopping, more and more things are hidden behind glass in lots of shops. And then you have the tyranny bit of anarcho-tyranny. It goes, OK, well, we're not able to deal with the actual problems, like shoplifting that the government just mentioned there, so we're going to crack down instead on peaceful, law-abiding people, because it's much easier for a police officer to sit and scroll through Twitter and find the mean things and go after that, than deal with a difficult bit where someone might fight back or might get litigious or, who knows, might turn out to be an illegal immigrant who's committed loads of crimes and might need deporting.
Well, meanwhile, of course, Nigel Farage Farage is in Washington, D.C. today, giving evidence to the House Judiciary Committee over threats or alleged threats to free speech in Europe and the UK.
I mean, the timing couldn't be better for Farage, couldn't be worse for the government or for Britain in general. And it's hard, I think, for us to recognise, unless you've been to the States recently, how much this stuff has cut through. Right? You know, we like to think of our soft power as all, you know, the monarchy and the stiff upper lip and all these sorts of things. All we seem to be known for in the United States and increasingly around the world is the fact that you can't say anything without getting arrested, quote unquote, and then the kind of horror of the grooming gangs. You know, regular viewers will know my wife's an American, and I was over there recently with her, and her cousins were coming up being like, hey man, you sure you're not going to get arrested sometime soon for Twitter or whatever? And they genuinely think that. In the United States, you have enshrined in their constitution the right to freedom of expression, and it gives you a lot more leeway in saying things. So it's not just enough for somebody like Lucy Connolly, who said something that was obviously very unpleasant and all the rest of it, but she wouldn't have gone to prison ever in the United States, because you need to say, right, well, let's meet at this specific place in this specific time for a threat of violence to be actionable. Whereas here, the police have just been allowed to go completely wild, and I think it's totally way too far.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what the US State Department has to say, if anything, about this case. James, good to see you. You're back with us in the next hour. Thank you very much.
Well, the Metropolitan Police have released this statement. They say on Monday, the 1st of September, at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, officers arrested a man at Heathrow Airport after he arrived on an inbound American Airlines flight. The man in his 50s was arrested on suspicion of inciting violence. This is in relation to posts on X.
Well, after being taken into police custody, officers became concerned for his health and he was taken to hospital. His condition is neither life-threatening nor life-changing. He has now been bailed pending further investigation. Now, 11 minutes past 6. In a special announcement at the Oval Office last night, President Trump was forced to address online health rumours after a brief absence from the media.
Sort of crazy, but last week I did numerous news conferences, all successful. They went very well, like this is going very well. And then I didn't do any for 2 days, and they said, there must be something wrong with him. Well, it's fake news. You know, it's so fake.
Well, the US president said Labor Day weekend kept him very active, dismissing death reports as fake news.
Well, let's talk to US political analyst Eric Ham. Very good morning to you, Eric. It's been a remarkable week for the president, hasn't it? It's been Labor Day weekend. He could be forgiven for taking some time off, but actually there's been rumours circulating all over social media about his ill health and even potentially rumours that he died.
Yeah, it was quite striking, particularly when you look at who he replaced in the White House, Joe Biden, who, even when I was a White House reporter, I wouldn't see Joe Biden for literally weeks. But no one ever seemed to think that he was dead. And now here we see Donald Trump MIA for 72 hours. And you had this whole trend going, and there was growing concern about his health and what was happening, where he was, and what were their actual health issues. And the fact that there was this possible scare about his death certainly was surreal to see it play out.
Controversy even, hasn't there, about his hands visibly coated in makeup, perhaps fueling these conspiracy theories online. What do you think behind that? What's behind that?
Well, the White House has made clear that Donald Trump does have a vein issue, but they say that it's not something that is impeding his ability to do his job. And of course, we know that this is something that millions of Americans actually deal with. And so while it's certainly something that I think is fodder for social media, does it actually suggest that perhaps Donald Trump is unable to do the job? I don't think so. Look, this is a man who has made sure to aggressively court every news cycle there is. And I think it speaks to just how much the media has such an insatiable appetite about not only Donald Trump and his actions, his whereabouts, but when the man actually goes dark, I think it speaks to just the growing concern about perhaps what's happening, if anything at all is going on.
Do you think as well, Eric, that a precedent has been set about scrutiny over a president's health, where there was scrutiny and rumour surrounding Joe Biden by Republicans that was well-founded in the end?
Well, we know that certainly President Trump has made this a really big issue when it comes to past presidents, and I think now we're seeing it play out. But again, I do believe that there was really much ado about nothing. Now, of course, it is certainly something that we don't expect. And it's certainly out of character for Donald Trump to neither be seen or heard for days at a time. And I think that's certainly something that people will play into. But nevertheless, not only did we not hear from the president, but also the White House communications team certainly went dark with a schedule that didn't show much of anything on it. And I think that also speaks to the press team to ensure that the media is aware of where Donald Trump is, what's going on with him. And that's something that we did not see, quite frankly, from the previous administration as well.
Do you think the public or indeed the media were just perhaps missing Donald Trump a little bit? As you say, it is very unusual for him to be not in front of the cameras for a week. Of course, news channels across the world roll on it whenever he's doing a press conference, and they were just bored of regurgitating, of not having anything new to talk about Donald Trump.
I think it was certainly a little bit of withdrawal that we saw from the press, given the fact that Donald Trump certainly walked away from his Truth Social. And of course, we didn't see or hear from him. And also, I think it speaks to just how much they expect and they need Donald Trump to fill their airwaves. And also, it makes clear that this is a president who has certainly been very effective at using the bully pulpit to his advantage.
Eric Ham, always good to see you. Thank you for joining us on Breakfast.
Well, let's get a check on your weather now. Here's Honor at Chiswick.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Some heavy downpours expected this morning, particularly across the south where there is a Met Office yellow weather warning in force. Behind this, thundery showers, and it is going to be a blustery day for all. Heavy outbreaks of rain pushing their way eastwards, eventually skirting in parts of Scotland, northern parts of England. It's certainly going to be an unsettled day for all, with outbreaks of rain this often turning heavy and possibly even thundery. Perhaps turning a little brighter across central and southern parts into the afternoon, but in between some heavy thundery showers as well. And it is going to be a fairly breezy day, particularly across the south where we are expecting some coastal gales at times. Highs reaching around 22 degrees Celsius in the south, but obviously the unsettled day offsetting those temperatures. Further spells are expected as we head through into the evening, particularly across Scotland, northern parts of England, still pushing their way northwards, lingering across the Northern Isles through much of the night. Brightening up across Northern Ireland, northern parts of England, but still once again a chance of heavy blustery showers, and fairly similar across the rest of England and Wales. There is a chance of showers still, particularly in the west, perhaps turning a little dry across parts of East Anglia, central and southeast England. Now, for a time, once any heavy rain pushes away across the far northeast of the country, we'll see some drier, clearer spells, but still a continuation of showers across the northwestern half of the country, and then once again a return of longer, heavy spells of rain pushing into the far southwest, still remaining fairly blustery here, but elsewhere winds should turn fairly light, and a mostly mild night, lows reaching around 11 to 12 degrees Celsius. Across the south, once again, that's where we'll see the bulk of the rain on Thursday. A heavy band of rain just pushing into central parts of East Anglia and southeast England through the course of the morning. It should eventually break up, turning more towards heavy showers by the time we reach the afternoon. And we're still expecting plenty of showers scattered across the country, even as we head towards later into the day. Once again, highs reaching around 21 degrees Celsius, but another unsettled day ahead.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Now, do stay with us. Still to come, President Xi, Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong-un put on a united front as they arrive in Beijing. We'll be telling you more about that next.
This is our country, and we think it's amazing. From high tea to the high street, we love it all. Even the rain, we like that too. There's nowhere else we'd rather be. That's why we're here to be the fearless champion of Britain, its voices and its values. Because we are GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it? Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. Time for the Great British Giveaway now, and it's our biggest prize to date, worth over £104,000, and you could win a full-berth motorhome worth over 74 grand, plus a whopping 30 grand in tax-free cash. And here's Hayley Sparks with all the details.
It's our biggest, greatest Great British giveaway to date. Your chance to win a prize package worth over £104,000. You could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primero motorhome. With thanks to Marquis Leisure, this 4-berth home from home comes complete with integrated kitchen and bathroom areas, sky view roof lights, and has all the tech you'd expect from the latest 2025 model. We'll also give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to make sure any adventures in your motorhome are taken in style.
For a chance to win the motorhome and cash, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. The winner will be contacted live on GB News, week commencing 10th of November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Yes, good luck. Now, China showed its military strength yesterday in its largest ever parade.
Yeah, over 50,000 spectators were in attendance with hypersonic missiles and outfitted tanks on display.
Well, Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong-un were among 26 world leaders that were present at the event, with North leader noticeably joined by his daughter and rumoured successor.
Well, joining us now is the international security specialist expert, Will Geddes. Will, good morning to you. This was the first time, wasn't it, that we saw Kim Jong-un, Vladimir Putin and President Xi together. Does this signal some kind of message to the West in terms of Eastern strength?
Very much so, Cameron. This is very much a show of strength and a unifying of Eurasian countries together. And we should add to that President Modi of India. So what we have here is a group and a consolidation of state leaders who are very much in opposition to the IMF, to NATO, and want to challenge world dominance, if you like, by the United States and by Europe.
And, well, from a security perspective, I mean, this must be such a tightly controlled event.
Well, yes, Ellie, in terms of the event itself, very, very, very controlled. But then again, as we saw on this Victory Day parade, which marks the 80th anniversary of the end of World War II, It shows China really to its people to say, look where we've got to, look where we've come, look how powerful we are, regardless of the fact of the tariffs that have been levied and put on them by President Trump. But again, it's a question of China also showing its unified sort of support of its nation countries, or certainly its neighboring countries, I should say. Certainly with President Putin there and Kim Jong-un being there, it shows that they, as individuals, could be challenged by the United States, but together would be a formidable force.
And what has the reaction been from the United States to this show of support?
Well, the only thing that we've seen so far really has been a tweet by President Trump, which says to China, well, I hope you will also show some respect and some support to the United States, who helped you liberate yourself from Japan those 80 years ago. But the tone of it was very sarcastic. But I think at the moment, certainly not only the United States, but NATO and Europe will be looking very, very closely at this join-up, because this could be very significant, particularly as we've seen Kim Jong-un donate some 11,000 odd troops to President Putin in terms of the Ukraine conflict, and those have been discovered. And certainly in the most recent weeks, Russia's been making a lot of success in capturing certain elements of the Donbass in Ukraine. But I think over and beyond that, again, Xi Jinping's support of Putin and the trade deals between Putin and Modi in India, where they've taken a vast number of discounted oil from Russia, which has, as a consequence, had President Trump increase the tariffs on India by up to 50%.
I mean, China would know that the world is watching these pictures. Was it then intentional that we saw this huge array of these Chinese-produced cutting-edge new weaponry yesterday?
Yes, and especially, Ellie, it was this new intercontinental missile that they have, which they've developed, and they were parading very, very clearly. And this particular ballistic missile can go anywhere in the world. It has a global reach. So it was very much a show of force. It very much was saber rattling. And again, saying to the world, we are a very strong, dominant power. We are not reliant on the West. We're not reliant on the United States. We can continue to survive. And China has done that, certainly economically. It is in the last year shown that the tariffs that have been put on them by America have really made not much difference.
How concerned should we be about this kind of weaponry on display in China?
I think we should be really concerned. Our European partners, for example, France is preparing for a mass casualty event around, they're aiming around sort of March 2026. Certainly some of the countries that are neighboring Russia and are on the borders of Russia are looking at their defenses right now. Even the head of NATO said that if Xi Jinping and Putin collaborate together against the West, this would be a significant problem. And certainly when you bear in mind that NATO has approximately 3 million troops deployed, and it has about 130, I believe, in reserve. When you compare that to China, they have 5 million troops that are ready and 700 million that are in reserve, that are fighting men and fighting women who are able to deploy. So, you know, this could be quite significant. We're in a very volatile time right now. So what people or what the state leaders in the West say on the world stage has to be couched very, very gently and very carefully.
OK, well, Geddes, thank you for your analysis this morning.
It's time now for your daily reflection with Baptist leader Marjorie.
The GB News Daily Reflection.
Hello, my name is Marjorie and I'm a Baptist leader in Sheffield. It is fascinating who Jesus chose to spend his time with as he walked the earth. It is not what you would expect from a religious or spiritual leader. It is not what you would have actually expected from any kind of world leader. He didn't choose the company of the good and the great. Instead, he chose to surround himself with prostitutes and the corrupt money launderers of the day. He stopped for the one in front of him, for the weak, the outcast, the blind, the beggars. And it made people very uncomfortable. And it deeply challenged and bothered those who held worldly power at the time. Jesus was very clear as to the why. In Matthew's Gospel, chapter 9, he simply says, "It is not the healthy who need a doctor, but the sick." Jesus came to seek and save the lost. He knew he was far more than a religious teacher. He was the saviour of the world. To be lost in life is a terrible thing. I remember being on a hike while back in school on a high mountain, and a dense fog unexpectedly came down over the mountain and covered us, and we got split up as a team. It was confusing, bewildering, frightening. We just needed someone to come and show us the way through. Jesus says, whoever you are, no matter how lost you feel, or indeed if you don't even recognise your lostness in the fog of life, that He is the light of the world. He is the good shepherd. He is the good Father. He is the way, the truth, and the life.
Now, if you're travelling to work or school this morning, because many of the schools are back
They are.
today or yesterday, so welcome back to school if you're heading there.
The Prince and Princess of Wales's children are back to school today.
Are they?
Yeah, at Lambrook.
Well, if
in
you're
Berkshire.
listening, here's your traffic and travel update.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. Due to roadworks, the A68 is closed at Earlston. Follow the signed diversion. There are delays from M62 Junction 35 westbound to M18 Junction 7 southbound due to a broken down vehicle. In Hertfordshire, a collision on the M25 anti-clockwise at Junction 17 causes lane closures and 30-minute delays, improving by 8 this morning. And on the trains, disruptions continue on Avanti West Coast through Carlisle and London Overground between Dalston Junction and Norwood Junction. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Welcome back. Still to come, it's almost time for the semi-finals of the US Open, but who has made it? Paul will be here next.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom with Andrew and Beth.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie is here.
I'm Michelle Chu, Britain's News Channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's News Channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's News Channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's News Channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Dordme, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's News Channel.
Miriam, you can't be serious. Scrapping the triple lock on state pensions? Madness.
Andrew, we just can't carry on pretending. The numbers just don't add up. We've got to be honest with people. We've got to face the facts. That's what people want.
Well, that's what you get on GB News and on Britain's Newsroom. Lively debates, lively conversation.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first, and we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
Welcome back. It's sports time. Paul Coit is here with us, and we're starting with the cricket.
I know, your favourite sport.
Yes.
Here we go.
I get a little bit lost.
OK, eyes down for a full house. Here we go. First ODI, one-day international of the series between England and South Africa. All I can tell you, and we'll keep it brief, it was a disaster. It was really bad. I mean, England were bowled out for 131, which, trust me, is not good. They lost by 7 wickets. They reached 82 for 2, which seems OK to start with, but then only scored another 49 runs. The last 7 wickets went for 29 runs. It wasn't good. It was all a bit of a disaster. We can just... What do you do? File it and move on?
Was England just having a bad day, or is this consistent?
Well, I don't really know. We'll find out tomorrow, because the next game is tomorrow at Lord's. OK. So we'll see whether it was just a one-off or whether this is going to continue. OK. I mean, really, you've got there's so many different versions of cricket. You've got Test matches, which are the 5-day game. We've got the ODI, which is just a 1-day game, which is 50 overs, and then you've got the T20, which is shorter, and then you've got the 100, which is even shorter than that. So really, all we need to worry about right now is the fact that it's the Ashes, it's England versus Australia, in Australia this winter, and that's the Test match, and that's the one we've got to worry about. So in the meantime, the ODIs, we can let them go.
Fair enough. Is tennis slightly happier with Alcaraz?
Yes, yeah. I mean, really, this is... we love Alcaraz. Are you a fan of Alcaraz? Yeah. I mean, he's breezed into the semi-finals, beat Czech Jiří Lehecka 6-4, 6-2, 6-4, and it was really easy for him. And it was one of those games where he was just... everything he did was perfect. Let's just have a look at the end of this. And he was celebrating even at the end as well, with his... which is now... it's almost like his trademark golf swing, because Rory McIlroy was in the audience at his last game, and now there's another golfer that's been watching him. What do you think of the pink? Pink as well.
I like it.
He looks good, doesn't he?
Because at Wimbledon, of course, you've got to wear all white.
Wear white.
Whereas
the US Open, you're fine.
Yes.
Now, here's the swing. The golf swing. There we are. And that is Sergio Garcia, Spanish golfer, who he's now, because golf is now a big thing for him, and now he wants to go and play golf with Sergio Garcia. He's already played with Rory McIlroy, because he did the swing and there was Rory waving, and now Sergio Garcia.
He's getting around, isn't he?
He is.
Golfers.
Do you think that if he goes to watch golf and goes to watch them, they then go and play tennis with him?
Maybe.
And you know, serve on the golf course.
It would only be fair, wouldn't it? Because he goes and plays golf with them. But I don't think they oh, well, we want to play tennis with you.
Although you'd probably lose if you were playing against Alcaraz, wouldn't you, if you're an amateur?
Well, you know what? He'd lose if he was playing golf, but I think it would probably be a bit more humiliating if you're playing tennis than if you're losing at golf, you know?
Yes.
It's going to be a bit more, can you take it easy? But Yannick Sinner, let's have a look at Yannick Sinner, because Yannick Sinner also won, because I think he... by the way, he plays Djokovic. Alcaraz will now play Djokovic in the semi-final, so that's going to be huge. But Yannick Sinner, and I still think it's going to be a Sinner-Alcaraz final again, was asked about his relationship with Alcaraz, because, you know, they're the best of enemies on there, but also apparently they're the best of friends off the court. Let's see what he said.
I think that we have a good friendship, you know, also off the court. It's something great to see. We see that this is possible, you know. It's not like you have to be enemies also off the court. Of course, we are enemies when we step on the court. We try to play our best tennis, but it ends there, you know. After the handshake, everything is fine again, and that's great to see.
Yeah, you know what? Do I like the fact that they're good friends? Maybe I do. Maybe I do. You know.
We like camaraderie in sports.
A little bit of camaraderie, but also like a bit of argy-bargy as well. So maybe there's room for a bit. There's room for a bit.
I think there's room for both, isn't there?
I think so.
How is Chris Froome?
Yeah, Chris Froome, 4-time Tour de France winner, one of our greatest cyclists, one of the greatest cyclists of all time. We spoke about him last week. He had a horrendous bike crash in southern France. I mean, get this. I mean, this is, if you're going to retire, and he said he's probably going to retire this year, I'd say this has probably answered it for him. Collapsed lung, 5 broken ribs, fractured back. Oh. And it could have been worse because his wife, Michelle's been speaking about it, and she said that Chris wanted everybody to know what happened. A pericardial rupture. And reading The Lancet, as I was this morning, that's the sac that surrounds the heart. And quite frankly, it could have been fatal. I mean, it was that bad. This is how bad this accident was. Gosh. So he's OK. He says that he's fine. He's got a long recovery progress, his wife says, but he won't be riding his bike for a while.
The thing is, that would floor anybody. Any cyclist would have been floored by
This is the difference when you see pros like him, and it's the fact that anybody, if you get involved in an accident, you think, I'm not going on a bike again. He already had a terrible accident in 2019. And again, it's not just riding the bike, it's running at great speeds in dangerous ways. So, but I think now, surely the decision's been made. He's one of the greats of all time. I think now it's time to hang the bike up and say thanks very much. That'll do. But
well, we wish him well, and wish him well in his recovery as well.
Absolutely.
Hoity, thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Still to come, we'll be going through the papers with Claire Muldoon and James Schneider. What do they make of Sir Keir Starmer's plan for digital ID cards? But first, if you're in some search of some holiday sun, here's the forecast. OK, we know what James thinks. Here's the forecast for some of the top European destinations.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Parts of France will experience heavy, possibly thundery showers over the coming days, but elsewhere across northern parts of Europe, it should remain mostly fine and settled. That's certainly the case across much of Portugal and Spain, though northern parts of Spain may start to catch some of these showers pushing their way into France. As I say, some of these could turn into quite heavy downpours with a risk of hail and thunder. Elsewhere across Europe, though, mostly fine, settled, bar the odd shower across parts of Greece, and the settled weather remains over the weekend with temperatures in the mid-20s to low 30s.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
There's a big change in the age of parents, so first-time parents are getting older and older. There's been a significant increase in the number of men over 60 becoming fathers, a 15% increase in just 1 year, and an increase in the number of babies born to foreign parents. But what's really, really concerning is that what's called the total fertility rate, that's the average number of babies that each woman has over her childbearing life, has gone down again, and it's now at a record low, just 1.41 children on average per woman. And of course, we need about 2.1 to have a stable population. Now, a lot of people think, well, why don't we want the population to decline? We've been warning about burgeoning population for 50, 60 years now. But I think the really important factor to consider here is it's not really the overall size of the population that matters so much as the proportion of young to old, because that is what we need in order to have enough people working, enough people paying taxes to support people who are retired, to support people who are sick. And that is going down and down and down with huge economic consequences.
Do the figures divide it so that they can say whether the children are of African heritage or of this or of that? Does it tell you those sorts of statistics as well? And if so, what are the... What are they?
Yes, so we know the nationality of mothers who give birth. And in terms of foreign mothers, the greatest number of babies are born to women of Indian and Pakistani heritage. So they are the biggest numbers, the biggest nationalities. But I think what's really important to note is that even with the huge and unpopular levels of immigration that we've had, even with those levels, the birth rate is still falling and the ratio of young to old is still going down.
GB News, the People's Channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There, you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/your say, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun. No, he didn't say that, though. I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Breakfast. Joining us to go through the papers is political commentator Claire Muldoon and former Labour advisor James Schneider. Morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. See you. Claire, let's start with the Telegraph, shall we? Actually, a number of papers this morning. Digital ID cards could be issued to all Britons.
I mean, this is just such an abhorrent idea on every single level.
I knew you'd agree on this one, you two.
On a political level, on a sociable level, on an environmental level even. Who wants to know where everyone is? I'll tell you, Starmer, the granny embalmer. He wants to know every single aspect of your life. It's globalisation at its worst. You will be able to know, Big Brother will be able to watch where you're going. And the other thing, this is what I was saying earlier, they seem to frame this, I know it was in the manifesto for the Labour Party to be elected, as was giving the votes to 16-year-olds and the rest of the rubbish that they put in their manifesto. And they actually, you know, they're framing it, oh, this is to make you safe. This is to make services easier. This is to make... No, it's not.
But, Claire, it is a plan to try and crack down on migrants working in the black economy.
But how... Look, you can only work if you've got a national insurance number. They say, the political elite would say, they can't, illegal migrants that are coming over cannot work. They're not able to work, and that's why they have to have the vociferous amounts of benefits that they get, perceived from charitable organisations or indeed from the government, OK? But it's not. It really isn't. It's so, so bad.
James, what do you make of the argument that if you've got nothing to fear, you've got nothing to hide?
Well, I think really it's a question that our political class have absolutely no new ideas. We rejected this as a country 20 years ago, the last time they tried to push it on us.
Was it the Labour Party that tried to push it on us?
It was Tony Blair, and they always come up with a different argument for why we really need to give up our basic liberties and carry around our papers all of the time. So it's either it will counter terrorism, as if terrorists are going to obey the ID cards law, or it's going to counter organised crime, again, as if organised crime can't get counterfeit documents, or it's going to somehow make it easier for us to access services, which I've never understood as an argument, or now it's because it's going to deal with the black market. None of these ID cards don't solve for any of these problems, but they do take away our freedoms. And the only thing I'll disagree with what Claire said. She said it was in the manifesto. It wasn't in the manifesto, and likewise when it wasn't in the 2005 manifesto and they tried to push it through, the Lords can stop it because it wasn't in the manifesto. So hopefully, if they do try to push it through with their 400 and whatever MPs, the House of Lords can try to stop it.
Yeah, well, hopefully.
There is a belief at the top of government that the public debate on this has shifted. I mean, clearly not with you two. But with migration and with people working in the gig economy and the black market, that this would be the only way to try and detract from that pull factor in Britain, that you could come here and work in the black market.
It clearly isn't the only way in which you can deal with that. They might think, they always try to find a new way to get in the same policy. So this might be the new way in which they try to do it. It doesn't mean that we can't make exactly the same arguments we've been making for many, many years about why we don't want these things and why why they won't stop terrorism, they won't stop people working in the black market, they won't stop organised crime. What they will do is they will make our lives a little bit more annoying. We'll have to pay for them, and then there are potential sinister things about the state knowing where we are all of the time.
Meanwhile, James, bit of a headache for Rachel Reeves this morning. Borrowing costs reaching a 27-year high.
Yes, so the 30-year borrowing on 30-year gilts has gone up to the highest level since 1998, which is exactly the opposite kind of news that you want as the Chancellor ahead of a budget that's going to come in November. They thought when they came in that they would magically find in the Treasury this big button that the Tories couldn't find because it was in a back cupboard somewhere that said growth. And what they would do with this big button is they would sort of press it and then bang, the economy would zoom away and everything would be fine. The problem is they've come in without really any kind of plan. There are ways in which you can both boost tax revenues and reduce recurrent expenditure and boost investment. But you need to have a very well worked out plan to do so. And they don't, which is why she's being buffeted from fiscal event to fiscal event with less and less headroom, doing something which basically saves things for a few months, but doesn't do anything to support the long term. So if you look at the last one, the big tax increase was on national insurance for employers. Now, I would like to see more taxes on big business. I would like to see more taxes on the super rich and wealth. This is precisely the worst tax that you could raise that relates to business because it's a tax on jobs. If you want to expand the economy, you want to expand the tax base, you need to make it easier for people to be employed, not harder to be employed. So they've basically not got a strategy. It's showing up in the markets, and there needs to be a big change.
What impact do you think the shift from Duncan Jones and Manouche, who was the Deputy Governor of the Bank of England, will have on Rachel Reeves's position then?
I'm not sure. It's hard to say because you can't see inside the mechanism. I do think they need to set up a different system for economic decision-making because either you have what we had with Blair and Brown, which is the Chancellor is extremely powerful and therefore has advisors covering basically every area of policy and sort of operates how the Prime Minister would in other countries' systems where they have a president. Or you do it like we do foreign defence and security policy, where you have a setup where the Prime Minister is still at the top, but then the different departments feed in different ways. So then the Treasury would feed in always saying, well, what about sound money? But then you have someone else feeding in saying, yes, but we need to improve investment in the economy and so on. I've not seen that they've done that. They've just changed some of the figures.
Well, there is a suggestion, of course, that the Chancellor's authority has been undermined by this reshuffle inside Number 10, particularly around economic advisers getting closer to the Prime Minister.
Well, there was an economic advisor. They went. Now there's a new one. I think I'm not sure it means that they've been undermined. It's hard to read those tea leaves. But clearly, the decision-making that has been made for the economy being driven solely by the Treasury, and that could be, honestly, it doesn't really matter who is the Chancellor if they're not going to put their imprint on it. The Treasury officials say, this is what we want to do. The Treasury's mandate is too narrow relative to the whole set of economic management that we need. So if they're going to have a system that works better, it's going to need more than just one new advisor in Number 10. They need to set it up differently.
Claire, let's take a look at the Telegraph, shall we? And energy drinks to be banned for under 16s.
Yeah, do you know the best way of doing it? Tell a 16-year-old or younger that it's really good for you. Then they won't touch them. Then they won't touch them. Or better still, start drinking them as an adult yourself, which I can't recommend because I've never actually tried them.
No, I don't.
I don't see the aplomb of it. I don't see the draw to an energy drink, says someone who woke up quite late this morning. I cut my jib with black coffee. But anyway, it's great that the government are trying to tackle this. I think everyone has known for years that these are really inherently awful, really bad things to, raise your levels of sugar so high in your body. That you've got many things. You've got Monster, you've got Red Bull, lots of these different drinks that people actually drink on a night out as well as a mixer.
So it's a problem for the government will be enforcing this because some large supermarkets voluntarily do this anyway, ban energy drinks for under 16s, but the local corner shop isn't at the moment, so enforcement might become an issue.
It's not. I mean, you do it for booze, you do it for cigarettes. I mean, of course, you'll get around it in the same way that some kids who are younger than 18 are also able to buy alcohol sometimes, but it doesn't mean they can do it all of the time and that it's really easy. And if we think that these products are bad for kids, which I think
we all then consent of that.
Yes, which we all do. The idea of restricting them seems very sensible. Yes, there might be some tweaks around the edges about the best way in which you can make the maximum level of enforcement, but the basic idea, these are bad, they should go.
OK. James, Claire, thanks very much indeed. You'll be back with us in about 45 minutes, going through all the top stories of the day. Let us know what you think on any of those stories we've been discussing. gbnews.com/yours say. Let's get a check now on the weather.
Today's outlook: cool, calm, and completely horizontal. Boxed aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Some heavy downpours expected this morning, particularly across the south where there is a Met Office yellow weather warning in force. Behind this, thundery showers, and it is going to be a blustery day for all. Heavy outbreaks of rain pushing their way eastwards, eventually skirting in parts of Scotland, northern parts of England. It's certainly going to be an unsettled day for all, with outbreaks of rain, this often turning heavy and possibly even thundery. Perhaps turning a little brighter across central and southern parts into the afternoon, but in between some heavy thundery showers as well. And it is going to be a fairly breezy day, particularly across the south where we are expecting some coastal gales at times. Highs reaching around 22 degrees Celsius in the south, but obviously the unsettled day offsetting those temperatures. Further spells are expected as we head through into the evening, particularly across Scotland, northern parts of England, still pushing their way northwards, lingering across the Northern Isles through much of the night. Brightening up across Northern Ireland, northern parts of England, but still once again a chance of heavy blustery showers, and fairly similar across the rest of England and Wales. There is a chance of showers still, particularly in the west, perhaps turning a little dry across parts of East Anglia, central and southeast England. Now, for a time, once any heavy rain pushes away across the far northeast of the country, we'll see some drier, clearer spells, but still a continuation of showers across the northwestern half of the country, and then once again a return of longer, heavy spells of rain pushing into the far southwest, still remaining fairly blustery here, but elsewhere winds should turn fairly light, and a mostly mild night, lows reaching around 11 to 12 degrees Celsius. Across the south, once again, that's where we'll see the bulk of the rain on Thursday. A heavy band of rain just pushing into central parts of East Anglia and southeast England through the course of the morning. It should eventually break up, turning more towards heavy showers by the time we reach the afternoon. And we're still expecting plenty of showers scattered across the country, even as we head towards later into the day. Once again, highs reaching around 21 degrees Celsius, but another unsettled day ahead.
Today's outlook: cool, calm, and completely horizontal. Boxed aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. Due to planned maintenance, the A68 is closed in both directions at Earlston. Road users are advised to follow the sign diversion route. Meanwhile, the M25 anti-clockwise at junction 17 has a severe road traffic collision, shutting all lanes. Expect a 50-minute delay. In East Riding of Yorkshire, a broken-down vehicle on the M62 westbound exit slip at junction 35 causes one lane to close. Normal traffic conditions are expected soon. And on the trains, there is major disruption on the London Overground between Dalston Junction and Norwood Junction, and Avanti West Coast service faces disruptions. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
It's our biggest Great British giveaway to date. You could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primera motorhome. This 4-berth home from home comes complete with integrated kitchen and bathroom areas and has all of the tech you'd expect from the latest 2025 model. We'll also give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to make sure that any adventures you take in your new motorhome are taken in style. For a chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Miriam, you can't be serious. Scrapping the triple lock on state pensions? Madness.
Andrew, we just can't carry on pretending. The numbers just don't add up. We've got to be honest with people. We've got to face the facts. That's what people want.
Well, that's what you get on GB News and on Britain's Newsroom. Lively debates, lively conversation.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first, and we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's News Channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
The Prime Minister hits out at the Metropolitan Police on free speech.
Sir Keir Starmer tells police to concentrate on serious crime as Graham Linehan is detained over tweets.
Well, it comes as the gender-critical Father Ted writer was arrested and detained at Heathrow Airport on Monday as he got off a flight from the United States.
But as shoplifting soars, do the police have their priorities in the right place?
In a timely visit, Nigel Farage is in Washington today. The Reform UK leader will address the House Judiciary Committee in the US Capitol, looking at European threats to free speech and innovation.
The Chancellor under pressure. Rachel Reeves faces intense pressure as long-term borrowing costs soar to a 27-year high.
You know, it's just so... It's so fake. I knew they were saying, like, is he okay? How's he feeling? What's wrong?
President Trump addresses the press for the first time in a week, hitting out at those viral rumours on his ill health and even speculation that he was dead.
You know, frankly, emetic to watch of sick-making, to watch Putin being welcomed to America like that.
In a GB News exclusive, Boris Johnson calls for President Trump to increase economic sanctions on Russia.
The Trump administration releases thousands of Epstein files, 33,000 documents relating to the late child sex offender. But the Democrats suggest that most have already been made public.
And a show of force to the world. President Xi, Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong-un put on a united front as they arrive in Beijing, with China showcasing its latest military weapons.
A third of the new Strictly lineup are taking fat jabs, sparking fears that those stars won't be able to keep up with the show's gruelling schedule.
And as Nestlé fires its chief executive after an undisclosed romantic relationship with an employee, we're asking, is it wrong to date a junior colleague?
And sport this morning, Novak Djokovic and Carlos Alcaraz win their matches. Carlos Alcaraz, if you want me to do it properly, in the US Open. And they'll now play each other in the semi-final. In cricket, England are thrashed by South Africa in the first ODI at Headingley. And 52 years after Bobby Riggs versus Billie Jean King, there's another tennis battle of the sexes in the pipeline.
Hello there, good morning. A yellow warning for rainfall has been issued across southern parts of England and Wales. Stay tuned and I'll be here with all the details.
Good morning, it's just gone 7 o'clock. I'm Ellie Costello.
And I'm Cameron Walker, and this is GB News Breakfast. Well, good morning. Lots of you have been getting in touch on President Trump's press conference and, of course, quashing the rumours that he's dead, actually. There's no better way to say it. SME said Donald Trump's ill health, from the same commentators that claims Joe Biden, former US president, was as sharp as a tack.
Yeah, it seems as though Donald Trump was off-grid for about 72 hours, wasn't he? Simon's made this point, saying the media never questioned when Biden went AWOL for weeks on end.
Christopher says if Donald Trump is talking to the press live on TV, surely he's not dead.
Yes,
well,
very good point, yes. Grumpy, I don't think that's your real name, says Europe has had ID cards for decade, but they have not stopped. This is the Prime Minister of the government looking at ID cards for everyone. We've been talking about that this morning.
Yes, and Eileen says you can't work in Britain without a national insurance number, and that should be sufficient, again, on the government plans for ID cards or digital ID cards.
Yeah, do keep your views coming in on any of the stories that we are talking about today, gbnews.com/yoursay. And just before we move on, I wanted to talk to you about this story in the Daily Mirror, because, Coity, you'd like this one. You like auctions.
I do. I love an auction.
And I like things relating to D-Day, after I spent some time in Normandy. So this is secret maps used by Allied troops on D-Day have been sold at auction for £23,000. And they were originally bought in a job lot for £10.
See, that's what I like.
How lucky is that?
That's what I like. That's why I love all those things. And then all of a sudden it's like, then they make a load of money. But the thing is, say it's a lot of money, but it's a piece of history as well. Whose map was it? Do we know whose it was, where it was? Was it one of the original landing maps? Or?
Somebody who landed on D-Day in 1944, presumably. But it is, as you say, it's history, and it's the Allied victory, isn't it? It's what we celebrate on V-Day and all the rest of it. A proper piece of, British history and an artefact that should be preserved, really, shouldn't it, rather than kept in an attic?
Well, on that note, it was bought by the Jersey War Tunnels and will now go on display for the very first time. 50 pages, this is.
Nice.
So I used to be my first job was in Jersey, my first media job. I worked at Channel Television and went to the war tunnels several times.
Yeah.
And of course, it's the Germans who built it. It's not Jersey, the only place, or the Channel Islands, the only place occupied by the Nazis during the Second World War. And the amount of artefacts they have from that period is absolutely incredible. So I think it's going to have a fitting place in that museum, and would recommend for everyone in the Channel Islands to go and visit.
There you go.
Very good. I'll tell you, very good.
There you go.
They say it's part of a significant acquisition programme. Clearly, they're looking for more and more material.
But I kind of hope that a lot of people would maybe just donate them, you know, if everybody could see them, because they have to spend a fortune. Museums do that. They have to spend a fortune on things.
But also it's important now because, very sadly, we are losing people who were living during the Second World War, and we need to keep their memories alive and keep what happened during World War II and the sacrifices we made alive.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Well, let us know what you think on that story. gbnews.com/you'll-say. I'm glad they're going to be in the public domain.
Yeah,
Thought
absolutely.
you'd like that story?
No, I like that.
Now to our top story this morning, and Sir Keir Starmer has criticised the Metropolitan Police for their handling of a recent arrest related to social media posts made by the Irish comedian Graham Linehan.
Now, Reform UK leader Nigel Farage is set to discuss issues relating to free speech in Washington later today.
Well, elsewhere, the government's borrowing costs have soared to their highest since 1998, with 30-year bond interest rates reaching 5.7%, increasing the expense of servicing Britain's debt.
Well, for the former Conservative advisor James Price joins us now. James, good morning to you. Let's start with Nigel Farage being in Washington, D.C. today, talking to US lawmakers about issues relating to free speech in the United Kingdom. It's 5 years ago, who would have thought it?
Yeah, quite. Imagine trying to explain most of British politics to somebody of 15 years ago. Yeah. Absolutely extraordinary. You know, the Taliban say they'll agree to deal with Prime Minister Farage. What a sentence that is, right?
Wow.
But you're right, and this is a really big deal in the United States. In the First Amendment, their Bill of Rights enshrines their right to freedom of expression. We know, we've talked before, about how important that is, frankly, just for good government. If you can't criticise things, if you can't course correct, then you get much worse outcomes. And the United States, the new administration there, still fairly new, is very, very hot on this. And the Secretary of State, their version of Foreign Secretary, Marco Rubio, has made this a real cornerstone of his foreign policy for America. And a lot of this as well, of course, is about the way that the European Union and the British government have tried to treat American big tech giants. You know, they're trying to stop their right to freedom of speech. And there are, I think, even sanctions being talked about for Ofcom members by the American government. That's how seriously the Americans take this sort of stuff. And when you see these stories coming out and you talk to just normal Americans, one of the few things they know about Britain these days is, oh, you get arrested for saying anything over there. You know, when we're coming up to the 250th birthday of America, where it's going to be a little testy for us Brits having to go and be the butt of every joke, we don't want this to be the only thing we're known for.
Well, Nigel Farage is going to raise this on Capitol Hill during this visit. It'll be interesting to see if J.D. Vance reacts to this case, as we've heard him raise concerns before about free speech in Britain. And Elon Musk has obviously been busy posting, talking about Britain being a police state.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of this does go back to Elon Musk's acquisition of Twitter. And what started off, I think, as him making a joke about it on a Twitter profile of his. I think because an American satirical news site called the Babylon Bee was banned off old Twitter for making jokes, Elon Musk said, oh, hang on a minute, this is quite serious. Well, how much would it cost to buy Twitter? And as they say, the rest is history. And that kind of free speech, ironically, actually, making likes, when you go on Twitter and you can like a post, you used to be able to see everybody who liked those. That's all now private. And you've seen that, alongside Elon Musk taking off all the kind of shackles, has let people actually, ironically, express themselves more freely. Would we have known about the grooming gangs to the extent we do? Would we have known about all these other things? Definitely not. Well, we know without the free press, the papers you're holding in your hands right now, all this stuff is absolutely essential to the lifeblood of a democracy. And if we lose it, who knows what happens next?
To be fair to the Prime Minister and the Labour government, he has actually criticised the Metropolitan Police for their handling of the Graham Linehan supposed arrest.
Yes, he has, but the Home Secretary has a role to play in working with the police. And the Labour Party, in opposition for a long time, went foursquare with saying all these things are so terrible. And a lot of the kind of political elite still do think that you should be arrested for saying mean things. This moron who's just been elected as leader of the Green Party said yesterday that it's absolutely great that this person was arrested and they definitely should be and all the rest. So this is still a really big problem. And if the government really cares about this, then I think we should have a proper grown-up conversation about the operational independence of the Metropolitan Police. It's not being well run, it's not fit for purpose, and it's facing an awful lot of pressures. It's dealing with people saying mean things online rather than the epidemic of violent crime that we're seeing.
Yes, 800 unsolved cases daily of shoplifting.
It's absolutely extraordinary, isn't it?
He is implying, though, in his defence, isn't he, that the police... I mean, his exact quote is that they should be concentrating on issues that matter most to their communities. That's tackling antisocial behaviour, shoplifting, street crime, as well as reducing violent crime and violence against women, suggesting perhaps that instead of investigating free speech issues, they should be looking at crimes such as shoplifting.
Yeah, absolutely, they should be. But, of course, you know, we're in this government at the moment, I think shoplifting has all but been decriminalised. You only are allowed to really look into these sorts of crimes if a certain threshold of value of products has been stolen. I think we need to go back to a very, very zero-tolerance policy on crime. I'll use over and over and over again the very extreme example of El Salvador, the little Central American country. It was the most dangerous place on earth. And then they elect someone, and what does he go and do? He just arrests all the criminals. He locks them all up, and suddenly it's the safest place in the Western Hemisphere. It's safer than America, it's safer than Canada. If we started doing that here, then maybe we'd live in such a wonderful, peaceful country that we could let the police go and start being mean to people who are being mean online. But that's how serious things have got to this country. I think we need to do that.
Can I talk to you about the headache that Rachel Reeves has as Chancellor? £40 billion gap in the public finances. There's suggestions that she's going to have to, well, put on a stealth tax, a mansion tax maybe as well. What's your take on it?
Well, it is all a Labour government knows how to do, isn't it? It only has one song to sing, and it's raise your taxes. It'll never be get growth going again because it doesn't understand business, and what it does understand about business, it doesn't like. It doesn't like people having freedom to make something more of their lives. It wants to keep everybody down. It can do that by raising your taxes, and it definitely won't cut spending, which is the other thing we've got. We have a real spending problem here. I actually think the two stories are almost connected in a way. I think if you look at some of the moves in these gilt markets, I think it could be American investors having a look at the United Kingdom saying, what? They're sending armed police to arrest people for tweets? That's not a serious country to invest in. I genuinely think that we're getting to that stage now. But is Rachel Reeves even the Chancellor anymore, really? I mean, she may well stand up at the dispatch box and do this last budget, but she's basically been defenestrated, hasn't she, with new advisors put around her and Starmer taking some of her people. The fear for me is that it won't just be taken away from Rachel Reeves, but all power and responsibility will end up being taken away from the government entirely, because we could find ourselves in a sovereign debt crisis. We could find the IMF coming in and imposing terms. Frankly, the markets will stop lending us money because they will see that we have no way of paying this stuff back as we fall further, I'm sorry to say, be this miserable in the morning, into a complete economic basket case in the years to come.
I mean, history doesn't look too kindly on all of this, does it? I mean, well, the same thing happened under Thatcher. Lawson lasted, what, a year?
Right.
Afterwards. But then we heard Sir Keir Starmer saying yesterday that actually this has only strengthened his relationship with Rachel Reeves.
Yeah, well, quite right. If you believe that, I've got a bridge to sell you, right? How is phase 2 going, Sir Keir? Just play the quick kind of thought experiment here. Imagine if Starmer came out today and fired Ed Miliband. Right? What would happen to these markets? And then if you went one further and you put somebody in as a successor, as the Energy Secretary, of someone who actually understands how markets work, and you say, right, well, let's get some North Sea oil and gas going again, let's invest in cool, new, next-generation nuclear, let's even get fracking going again, let's get those energy prices down, let's allow business to actually make stuff again. What would happen to all these numbers? It would obviously get much better. And so the positive I'm trying to say here, all of our problems, almost all of our problems, are self-inflicted. We have the right politicians and the right policies, we can turn things around. As Tennyson said, though much is taken, much abides.
OK, James Price, thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much. Always good to see you. Now, the Metropolitan Police have released this statement saying on Monday, the 1st of September, at 1 p.m, officers arrested a man at Heathrow Airport after he arrived on an inbound American Airlines flight. The man in his 50s was arrested on suspicion of inciting violence. This is in relation to posts on X.
After being taken to police custody, officers became concerned for his health and he was taken to hospital. His condition is neither life-threatening nor life-changing. He has now been bailed pending further investigation.
Well, at 14 minutes past 7, China has showed its military strength in its largest ever parade that took place earlier this morning.
Over 50,000 spectators were in attendance with hypersonic missiles and outfitted tanks on display.
Well, Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong-un were among 26 world leaders present at the event, with North leader noticeably joined by his daughter and rumoured successor.
Well, joining us now is the former chairman of the Defence Select Committee, Tobias Ellwood. Tobias, good morning to you. I mean, the image of President Putin, Xi Jinping and Kim Jong-un together, what kind of message does that show to the West?
Well, good morning. This is hugely symbolic. It's not just those pictures, but also the ones we've seen in the last couple of days of President Xi, President Putin and President Modi. So China, Russia and India standing together. I think this is highly symbolic of where our world is going, the new alliances forming in this multi-power world, and how less relevant, sadly, American global leadership now is, and indeed the West has become. The Shanghai Cooperation Organization, which was the body behind all this, is the most powerful organization most people have never heard of. And China uses it to promote Beijing's alternative vision of where our world should be going. And it's gaining traction as nations become turned off by what they see as American exceptionalism. And it has to be said, a president that shows little interest in repairing our fragile global order that America actually helped to create in the first place, and instead engaging on economic warfare in the form of tariffs and so forth with friend and foe. And the West looks adrift in an increasingly chaotic world, while China is looking organized and has a plan. And this summit proves it's the biggest gathering of non-Western, mostly autocratic regimes in the world. And it's a wake-up call for the West as to where our world is going. Confirmation that the East-West world is splintering. A global order that we've known is now coming to its end, and it's been gathering momentum for a couple of decades. We've got to wake up.
Yeah, a wake-up call to the West, especially when we saw the huge array of Chinese-produced cutting-edge new weaponry that they proudly displayed in this military parade. I mean, this new intercontinental missile being most notable. How do you think the West should be responding to this? Do we need to be spending more on defence ourselves?
Well, we have to. It's not the only thing, but you absolutely, if you want to stand up to an adversary, you have to have the hard power to respond. China's armed forces are now the largest in the world, the largest military, army, air force and navy, but they are not tested. They don't have the proven track record that we have in NATO and indeed of the United States. But it's where this is going in the longer term. They are building ships at a colossal rate. It's growing between 5 to 10 ships every single year. And you mentioned the missile defense systems and the missiles themselves. Incredible technology that is now coming around the corner. But it isn't so much what China is doing. It's collective. It's the fact that it's now learning to do exercises and so forth with Russia and with India, with North Korea. It's what collectively these countries are now doing, presenting a viable, genuine, real threat to the United States and indeed the West. And behind all that, there are no politics, no geopolitics to provide any form of off-ramp to prevent a potential clash in the future, a form of escalation, or indeed a miscalculation that could lead to a major war.
Just briefly, this so-called New World Order that they appear to be creating, what impact would that have on British citizens here in this country?
Huge, because simply the clout that China has economically through its One Belt, One Road, it's accumulated over 100 countries that are now tied into China's influence there. The Shanghai Cooperation Organization is equivalent to the EU and NATO rolled into one. The Asian Infrastructure Bank is the equivalent of the World Bank and the IMF. So they've got a parallel World Bank universe that they've created. And that is the danger here. They don't want to take over the Western construct. They simply like the Western machine to fail, which means that their operation can succeed. And of course, it's done with very few questions about human rights and about all these other aspects. That's the clash we're seeing. Our world, on current trajectory, will splinter into two spheres of competing influence. And as I said before, we're asleep. We are not recognising where our world's going.
OK, Tobias Elwood, thank you, as always, for your analysis. We've talked to you all morning. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now it's time for a check on your weather with Honor Criswick.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Some heavy downpours expected this morning, particularly across the south where there is a Met Office yellow weather warning in force. Behind this, thundery showers, and it is going to be a blustery day for all. Heavy outbreaks of rain pushing their way eastwards, eventually skirting in parts of Scotland, northern parts of England. It's certainly going to be an unsettled day for all, with outbreaks of rain, this often turning heavy and possibly even thundery. Perhaps turning a little brighter across central and southern parts into the afternoon, but in between some heavy thundery showers as well. And it is going to be a fairly breezy day, particularly across the south where we are expecting some coastal gales at times. Highs reaching around 22 degrees Celsius in the south, but obviously the unsettled day offsetting those temperatures. Further spells are expected as we head through into the evening, particularly across Scotland, northern parts of England, still pushing their way northwards, lingering across the Northern Isles through much of the night. Brightening up across Northern Ireland, northern parts of England, but still once again a chance of heavy blustery showers, and fairly similar across the rest of England and Wales. There is a chance of showers still, particularly in the west, perhaps turning a little dry across parts of East Anglia, central and southeast England. Now, for a time, once any heavy rain pushes away across the far northeast of the country, we'll see some drier, clearer spells, but still a continuation of showers across the northwestern half of the country, and then once again a return of longer, heavy spells of rain pushing into the far southwest, still remaining fairly blustery here, but elsewhere winds should turn fairly light, and a mostly mild night, lows reaching around 11 to 12 degrees Celsius. Across the south, once again, that's where we'll see the bulk of the rain on Thursday. A heavy band of rain just pushing into central parts of East Anglia and southeast England through the course of the morning. It should eventually break up, turning more towards heavy showers by the time we reach the afternoon. And we're still expecting plenty of showers scattered across the country, even as we head towards later into the day. Once again, highs reaching around 21 degrees Celsius, but another unsettled day ahead.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Now, do stay with us. Still to come, we're asking this morning, is it wrong to date a junior colleague? We're going to be debating that next.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now? No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start. No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Miriam, you can't be serious. Scrapping the triple lock on state pensions? Madness.
Andrew, we just can't carry on pretending. The numbers just don't add up. We've got to be honest with people. We've got to face the facts. That's what people want.
Well, that's what you get on GB News and on Britain's newsroom. Lively debates, lively conversation.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first, and we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Cates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. The time is 7:25 and time for the Great British Giveaway. And it's our biggest prize to date, worth over £104,000. You could win a 4-berth motorhome worth over 74 grand, plus a whopping 30 grand in tax-free cash. And here's Hayley Sparks with all the details.
It's our biggest, greatest Great British giveaway to date. Your chance to win a prize package worth over £104,000.
You could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primero motorhome. With thanks to Marquis Leisure, this 4-berth home from home comes complete with integrated kitchen and bathroom areas, sky view roof lights, and has all the tech you'd expect from the latest 2025 model.
We'll also give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to make sure any adventures in your motorhome are taken in style.
For a chance to win the motorhome and cash, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. The winner will be contacted live on GB News, week commencing 10th November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Yes, best of luck to you. Now, at 26 minutes past 7, Nestlé has dismissed their CEO due to an investigation revealing that he had breached the company's code of conduct by having an undisclosed romantic relationship with a younger employee.
Well, this morning we are asking, is it wrong to date a junior colleague?
Well, to debate this morning with us is comedian and social commentator Bruce Devlin and relationship expert Nadia Essex. Morning to you both. Bruce, let's start with you. Do you think it's wrong to date a junior colleague?
I don't think it's wrong if it's consensual or if it's... I get the vibe that this might have been an affair. He has previous. He dated someone that he shouldn't have. More importantly, it's in their contracts not to get amorous with colleagues, etc. So you violated that. But I think as long as it's all consensual and people are up for it, I don't see the problem with it.
Nadia, what do you think?
Well, you just contradicted yourself, surely. You said that they've signed a contract saying that they can't date their employees or their co-workers, but then you don't see a problem with it. Like, I think it's a major problem because ultimately, when the relationship gets found out or when it goes bad or when people start hearing about it, somebody gets sacked. And in this case, the CEO. That's huge.
Paul? No, not Paul. Sorry,
I'm not Paul. You're the second person to have called me Paul. No, I completely see what you're saying, Nadia. What I'm saying is, had it not been the case that so he's violated a contract and he is previous for this, so I do believe that's wrong. If you look at someone like Lorraine Kelly, and who wouldn't want to look at Lorraine Kelly? She met her husband. I don't know if he's junior or senior to her, but she met her husband in the workplace. So all I'm saying is that I don't think if it's all above board, there aren't contracts and all that kind of thing, I don't think it's necessarily something to be frowned upon. This is quite a specific instance where the guy has probably abused his power, but then we don't know what because the woman, I'm presuming it is a woman, hasn't been named. We don't know what she was getting out of it. I think there was something about the fact she was fast-tracked to be head of marketing or whatever for the American market of Nestle. So that's why I'm saying that, yeah, they've cooked their own goose on this, but I think if it wasn't for the fact of contracts and if it's all consensual and people again are up for it, I don't see a problem.
I mean, Nadia, it is very common, isn't it, for people to meet at work and one will always be younger than the other?
Well, I mean, there's a difference between sort of meeting and dating sort of same level co-workers. But in this particular case, it's, you know, a senior level dating someone younger and beneath them. And that's where you open the can of worms. There is absolutely no need to date someone that is younger and, you know, less superior than you. You are abusing your position of power. You have a responsibility to, you know, live in a code of conduct at work, keep it in your pants. There's plenty more fish in the sea. You just get over it, you know, there's just no need for it.
Bruce, I suppose the danger is if the relationship ends for whatever reason, one is a higher rank than the other employee, that could create issues for the employment.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is this is quite a specific case. It's quite an extreme case or unique or whatever you want. I mean, I've been working here for 2 years. I've definitely kept in my pants because the pool of people of any interest is very small, if at all. But I mean, I joke, but the fact of the matter is that, if, you know, the heart wants what the heart wants. And again, I'm bringing back the fact if it's consensual and all this kind of thing. I just think that in this case with the girl and again, I'm presuming it was a girl, was it the case that she thought, what can I get out of this? And that's why she was getting into it, if you see what I mean. But I think as a rule, I don't think, you know, if you like someone, you like someone. I don't think it's necessarily to do with position or any of that kind of stuff. I can see you disagreeing, Nadia.
Nadia,
I don't think it's as simple as if you like someone, you like someone. You have to get to a stage where you like them. And if you are in a position of power, then it's a hard no. You can fall in love with somebody and you can fall out of love with somebody. We're not the species that mate for life. So I think that if you are open to getting to know someone or liking someone, no, the heart doesn't want what it wants. You have to actively go out and spend time with that person and then, you know, put rose-tinted glasses on. We've all had to fall out of love with people that we've been in love with. It is possible. And I think it's just a really like immature way of thinking about your work, that you're going in there being, oh, the heart wants what it wants. No, you're at work, behave professionally.
Yeah, but the fact of the matter is you can still have feelings and that can happen. I'm not saying go and get a job in order to not use Tinder or a dating app. I'm not saying that at all. All I'm saying is that, yeah, you do have a professional code of conduct in any workplace, of course, but anomalies come up. You know, you can have feelings for someone. This is a very unique and specific case. The joke is on both of them because they've both been sacked now because they violated their contract. So they've been really stupid.
All right, Nadia, Bruce, we're out of time. Thank you very much. Good to see you both this morning. Let us know what you think on that one. You will have a view. gbnews.com/your say. We have had a response from Nestle, haven't we?
Yes, we have. Paul Bulk, chairman of Nestle, said this on the matter. This was a necessary decision. Nestle's values and governance are strong foundations of our company. I thank Lawrence for his years of service at Nestle.
Yeah, loads of you get involved already on this. Stephen says, I'd say mind your own business. Henry says, who cares? They can do what they want for me. And somebody else says, lots of people meet at work, so what?
Yes, do keep those views coming in. gbnews.com/your say. But coming up, it's almost time for the semi-finals of the US Open. But who has made it? Paul is here next.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good morning, this is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. The M9 at Junction 9 is experiencing restrictions both ways due to animals near the carriageway. Please approach cautiously and allow for longer journey times. On the M25 anti-clockwise within Junction 17, a road accident is causing significant disruption, with all lanes closed and delays of 1.5 hours. In Surrey, a collision on the M25 clockwise between junctions 5 and 6 has resulted in 2 of 4 lanes being closed, with a 40-minute delay. And on the trains, London Overground services face major disruptions between Dalston Junction and Norwood Junction, while Avanti West Coast trains are disrupted through Carlisle. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact that Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back, it's sports time. Paul Coit is here with us. We're going to start with the US Open.
How do you feel about Novak Djokovic?
Well, I think he's quite good at tennis, isn't he?
He's not bad.
Yeah,
He's
better than me.
Kid's got a future.
He's got a very good, he's very good.
Do you like him or do you not like him? You don't mind him?
I don't mind him.
OK.
He's talented.
I go from one thing to the other. 1 minute I can't stand him.
Are you?
Then I think, you know what, I think he's OK, then I'm not so sure again. But there's no doubt, as you said, Cameron, he's quite a good tennis player.
He is a good tennis player.
Looking for his 25th Grand Slam now. Now, playing at the US Open, I don't think it's going to happen. I think, there's going to be a point where surely at his age, which is 68 now, you're going to think, well, it's now time for me to step away. But he's still getting sort of semi-finals, quarter-finals, maybe even the final. He's going to be playing Carlos Alcaraz in the semi-final of the US Open. Let's see him in action anyway. Here's Novak playing yesterday, or actually it was just overnight, Taylor Fritz. The last American left, won in 4 sets. Now, watch him. We saw celebration earlier of Carlos Alcaraz doing his golf swing. And now there's Novak there on the right. It looks great in black there. Always very well dressed.
Indeed.
So there we are in his Lacoste. So now watch this. Now, what do you think is going on here?
He's drinking.
Drinky business?
Drink something, having a little
dancing. Bit of dancey business.
Yeah.
It's K-pop Demon Hunters.
Oh.
I've heard about this. It's
Have
what
you?
all the kids are watching these days, apparently, I've been told.
Yeah.
It's on Netflix.
I don't know.
I don't really understand it.
But why would you do that on a tennis court?
Well, it's his daughter's birthday.
Oh.
Apparently she's a fan. There we are. There he goes.
Oh, that's sweet then.
Well,
that is sweet.
You know what? I wouldn't do it.
Oh, no, see, I think it's quite nice to see that side of him.
Well, he does do a bit of that, and he's done the violin thing for his daughter, but that one, it's just like, you're either all in or it's just a bit embarrassing, I think.
We don't understand the trend. I'm sure if we did, we think that's...
But a man of his age, really.
Well, I just think he's a tennis player and he's on a tennis court. It's a bit odd to suddenly break into a dance.
He's
won. I mean, he's won. He's celebrating.
He's a loving
but
father.
It was just, okay, fine.
I think it's right. You do that for Joel Rubin.
I don't think I would go that far.
Yeah, you would.
I wouldn't do that, but I wouldn't go that far. Anyway, talking of tennis, Aryna Sabalenka, she's through to the semi-final without hitting a shot because Marketa Vondrousova was pulled. She's got a bad knee, so she's gone through to the semi-final. But there's a game... Now, I mentioned the Battle of the Sexes just at the top of the hour. And this goes back to 1973. They even made a film about it, didn't they? It was Bobby Riggs, who had retired for 20 years and said how much better he would be than women tennis players. And you've got Billie Jean King, and they ended up playing a game of tennis. Billie Jean ended up winning, but there was a big fight at the time because she was fighting the fact that they weren't getting anywhere near the money that men were earning. So there was a reason for this, whereas now we've got a game which is going to be Aryna Sabalenka, who is going to play Nick Kyrgios. Now, it's going to happen in Hong Kong.
I'm not sure about him.
You're not... See, I don't know.
Nick Kyrgios. I think he's got a bad temper.
You don't like the bad boy?
I don't like the bad temper,
You like the good boy, not the bad boy?
Yeah.
OK, well, Nick Kyrgios was interviewed by Alexander Bublik, who's also a tennis player, and it was for Alexander Bublik's YouTube show. And anyway, here's Alexander Bublik asking Nick Kyrgios about the game that's going to happen in Hong Kong.
But will you try, or will you be just playing around and then at the end she will win and be like, okay,
No.
Because if we talk about, a lot of politics here, it's more about the women's tennis, equal prize money and all that. And if she beats you...
She's not going to beat me, brother.
So you're going to try. Because, I mean, you can always double fall.
Do you really think I have to try 100%?
I think you can just go there, have a nice night out before that and say, okay, I don't care.
No, I'm going to try.
Okay, so you're going to try. So my question was, will you try to beat...
Mate, she's not going to beat me, brother. I'll tell you, she's not going to beat me. So it's going to happen in Hong Kong. Apparently, they're going to try to make it a little fair. I mean, I don't really see the point in this. It's just an exhibition thing. It turns out that they both have the same age, and I don't know whether it's just trying to drum up some publicity about the both of them. Not that they need it, but it's going to happen, and I'm sure people are going to watch it. And it's going to be money, isn't it? That's what it's going to be about.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
That's what it's going to be about.
Always comes down to the money.
Always comes down to the money. So that's what happened. And apparently, as far as I know, is that she will be playing on a slightly smaller... The court on her side is going to be slightly smaller than his side.
Is that a thing? Is that allowed?
I don't... Well, the whole thing allowed. So it's going to be an exhibition. They only get one serve each. So how it's going to go, I don't know. But anyway, it's something that is going to happen.
Cool. Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Thank you. Now, do stay with us. Still to come, we'll be going through the papers with Claire Muldoon and James Schneider. Morning, you two. To add to you in just a second, we're going to be looking at reports that almost half of criminals could avoid jail in a new sentencing shake-up. So we're going to get the view of James and Claire on that one. But first, if you're in search of some holiday sun, here's the forecast for some of the top European destinations.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Parts of France will experience heavy, possibly thundery showers over the coming days, but elsewhere across northern parts of Europe, it should remain mostly fine and settled. That's certainly the case across much of Portugal and Spain, though northern parts of Spain may start to catch some of these showers pushing their way into France. As I say, some of these could turn into quite heavy downpours with a risk of hail and thunder. Elsewhere across Europe, though, mostly fine, settled, bar the odd shower across parts of Greece, and the settled weather remains over the weekend with temperatures in the mid-20s to low 30s.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
There's estimated to be 1.5 million people in Britain on these jabs. So, therefore, if everybody in the UK turns out to be skinny, what is that going to do for those who decide they don't want to take this jab?
Well, I think people start looking for somebody else to blame or for somebody else to attack. People have always attacked me for being a big man and for being fat. But now I'm losing weight and I've gone the other way around. I've lost 7.5 stone. It seems to be people are now attacking me for taking the easy way out. I mean, there truly is no winning. I mean, we should be appreciating that we've got a drug that seems to be dealing with a serious issue and helping a lot of people to improve their lives. And ultimately, it's going to reduce the cost on the NHS of what it's going to cost, you know, so we should be looking at the positives here rather than the negatives, because a lot of people seem to be attacking people for taking the drug. Ozempic and Mounjaro have been a lifesaver for a lot of people, so I'm in full support of anybody that needs it to take it and, you know, lose some weight and better their life. Why not?
But I think what this academic is suggesting is that some people who choose not to take these drugs, and of course lots of people don't want to be pumping chemicals into their body for whatever reason, even if there are no sort of terrible side effects, people who choose not to take the drug will have more of a sort of stigma. They'll be judged more and they'll feel pressure to take a drug just because of the social norms, if you like.
I can get where you're coming from. I mean, look, nobody should be judged in the first instance. It shouldn't be an issue to start with. You know, to try and get people to stop judging people in general is something that's going to be, you know, unachievable. But ultimately, nobody should be, you know, attacked or told off for trying to lose weight the natural way. If anything, fair play to them. You know, they're trying to do it themselves without the need and assist of something like Mounjaro or Ozempic.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Miriam, you can't be serious. Scrapping the triple lock on state pensions? Madness.
Andrew, we just can't carry on pretending. The numbers just don't add up. We've got to be honest with people. We've got to face the facts. That's what people want.
Well, that's what you get on GB News and on Britain's Newsroom. Lively debates, lively conversation.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first, and we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's News Channel.
Welcome back. Time 7:45. Time to go through the papers now with political commentator Claire Muldoon and former Labour advisor James Schneider.
Morning, you
Morning.
two. Claire, it's back to school.
It is, and isn't it so exciting? Not only for the eager child, not being able to sleep at night, setting their alarm because they're keen as mustard to get to school, to start the new school year. Maybe you're going to sit your GCSEs or your Scottish equivalent. Maybe you're going into your final year at sixth form. You know, the world awaits. You've got this springboard. You'll be turning 18 if that's the case. You're choosing your university. What do parents say? The most stressful time of the year it is. No, it's not, right? It's the best. You've had them hanging around your feet. You've had childcare issues all summer. This is the best day of your life. Seize it. It's empowering. Give the kids, you're the primary educator, give the kids to the professionals at the school and look forward to it.
You can imagine, though, the prep to get kids back to school is stressful, though, surely?
Ellie?
All the lunches to prepare, the uniforms to buy, the shoes to buy.
That's part of life. You're saving money. Think about it as a cost-cutting service. The uniforms are there, they're rigorous, they're robust, they're legitimate, they give identity, they serve pride, all these virtues in one outfit. My goodness me, why is everyone not looking through that frame?
It might be a little bit stressful, James, making sure your kids get the bus on time.
It's their responsibility.
Even when they're 4 years old.
Yes.
That all sounds like fantastic advice. That sounds extremely not stressful.
Truth.
No, it sounds great. I think that sounds excellent. Obviously,
I hear a but.
Are you agreeing?
No, there's no but.
Oh.
I basically don't have anything to say because what you said was so good.
I bet, Claire, that you were running a tight ship when your kids were little.
Very, very, very tight ship. But the laugh is, right, when people say I've got my TV voice and my reading voice, if I'm reading it publicly or something, and people go, oh, gosh, you know, you speak really, really well. And the kids were like, she doesn't sound like that at 6 o'clock in the morning. The guttural Glaswegian will come out, as will my neighbours attest.
And do you take no nonsense if they're lying in bed as a teenager and don't want to get up?
Oh,
can you imagine?
Can you imagine the wrath?
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
I can. I'm scared myself.
We have told Claire that she needs to write a parenting book.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think it'd be very popular.
I would read it.
Built
on virtue.
Yes, and building virtue. I think that would be the title. James, let's look at something entirely different, shall we? In the Telegraph this morning, half of criminals could avoid jail in sentencing shake-up.
Yeah, so the headline sounds alarming, but then when you read the piece, it's much less alarming. Basically, the new sentencing guidelines are trying to avoid sentences which are less than 1 year, because the reoffending rate for people who get sent to prison, and then often it seems to be taught more things that you can do wrong, because the reoffending rate if you're sent to prison for less than 1 year is 59%, where it's only 24% if you get some... it's
a longer sentence?
No, a sentence in the community. So that's the basic point of it. Now, there is also some early release stuff, which that could be a bit more worrying. And there's not much detail in the papers so far about how that would work. But the basic point about not sending people to prison for less than 1 year, because it has been shown not only in Britain but in studies in other countries that it leads to reoffending. It's basically like an academy for criminals, is not a good thing. And so finding other ways in which people can pay back to society seems a sort of sensible thing to do. Also, we have a prison places crisis, so not getting people to reoffend and on short, endless short sentences probably seems quite sensible.
Where do you sit then on private companies owning and running prisons?
Totally opposed to it.
Yeah, me too.
Totally and utterly opposed to it. The incentives are all wrong. Are all wrong. Yeah, I don't think. I mean, you see it happening in the US in a major way. It also happens here. Serco is one of the big providers. I think,
and lobbying. They lobby the
They do. I just think it creates totally wrong incentives. These are not commercial institutions. They're meant to provide a service to the public. Justice is extremely important. It shouldn't be commercialised. And I don't actually think we get good value for money out of it either. So no, I would bring that all in-house.
Meanwhile, Claire, very sadly, Grenfell Tower is going to start the demolition process starting this week.
Yeah, and this is going to be so emotive to everyone that it lives in the perimeter of and around the area of Grenfell, obviously, for what happened there, because it is a living grave site. Angela Rayner took a lot of advice from a lot of people within the local community, but also industry standards and, architects, local authority of Kensington and Chelsea, and the deliverables there have all said, it is a health and safety issue. It needs to be brought down, right? And I think the way forward for this community as a whole, and indeed for the Grenfell site, is to make it not unlike what happened to the Twin Towers in New York, which is a beautiful... I mean, if I use the word spiritual, people that know me will know I don't mean that in some, fancy-dancy kind of out there way. It really does have a presence because people lost their lives there through incompetency, through lack of due diligence and due care, which has had an impact across house building now, across the country, and quite rightly too. And if it costs more for private companies to build homes, and I'm saying home here because houses that are being built now are not fit for purpose. They cage human beings, families, like battery hens. We need, you look around, especially London and the outer skirts of London, and indeed up and down the country, beautiful terraced homes with London brick homes. You build communities, you have proper places to eat, to sleep, to socialise. You can't do that in a flat that's built now recently, that's built to keep the cold out and the heat in. And if, as we're led to believe, that summers are getting hotter, but you only need to hear the reports in the papers over this summer. People are desperate to get aircon units in.
It baffles me that that's not a priority.
Exactly, Cameron. So this is a big week for Paddington and West London. This is a big week for the residents of Grenfell. I wish them well.
James?
I mean, we're still 8 years on and there's still huge failings that haven't been brought forward. There's still been no criminal charges for anybody who's been involved in it, and there are still homes that have similar cladding that are still wrapped around the tower blocks. I think everything has... The same way that there was neglect that led to the deaths of so many people in Grenfell Tower, that same kind of neglect has happened afterwards through not pursuing the people responsible and not just immediately removing what is an obvious fire hazard from loads of other people's homes. I mean, imagine the stress of if you are, let's say you're a leaseholder or you're a tenant in another block, you find out that this other one has gone up in flames and you've got the same cladding. 8 years later, it's still on yours.
It's still on.
Yeah.
And you can't sell.
And you can't. And you can't sell. And if you're a tenant, it's very hard to move out. So, you know, really awful situation. Obviously for the community, obviously for everybody directly affected, but also much more broadly. And it shows where our political system falls down.
And also, whose responsibility is it to remove the cladding from similar tower blocks? Is it the building contractor or is it the residents who've bought a flat there?
Well, I wouldn't say it's the residents.
No.
I would say it's the contractors, and that's the issue that will be going forward. The corporate manslaughter, the blame game, again, we always want someone to blame, but this is serious.
Yeah, it truly is.
No, I mean, no one bought their flat with a bit at the bottom saying, by the way, what it's wrapped up in might be flammable. Don't smoke on your balcony. I mean, so it can't possibly be the fault of the people who own the place.
Well, hopefully Grenfell will turn into a lovely memorial to remember those who lost their lives.
Well, let's hope so. gbnews.com/you'll say. Let us know what you think on any of those stories that we have been talking about this morning. Now let's get a check on the weather. I think it's going to be a bit miserable. Honor Critic's got all the details.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Box Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Some heavy downpours expected this morning, particularly across the south where there is a Met Office yellow weather warning in force. Behind this, thundery showers, and it is going to be a blustery day for all. Heavy outbreaks of rain pushing their way eastwards, eventually skirting in parts of Scotland, northern parts of England. It's certainly going to be an unsettled day for all, with outbreaks of rain, this often turning heavy and possibly even thundery. Perhaps turning a little brighter across central and southern parts into the afternoon, but in between some heavy thundery showers as well. And it is going to be a fairly breezy day, particularly across the south where we are expecting some coastal gales at times. Highs reaching around 22 degrees Celsius in the south, but obviously the unsettled day offsetting those temperatures. Further spells are expected as we head through into the evening, particularly across Scotland, northern parts of England, still pushing their way northwards, lingering across the Northern Isles through much of the night. Brightening up across Northern Ireland, northern parts of England, but still once again a chance of heavy blustery showers, and fairly similar across the rest of England and Wales. There is a chance of showers still, particularly in the west, perhaps turning a little dry across parts of East Anglia, central and southeast England. Now, for a time, once any heavy rain pushes away across the far northeast of the country, we'll see some drier, clearer spells, but still a continuation of showers across the northwestern half of the country, and then once again a return of longer, heavy spells of rain pushing into the far southwest, still remaining fairly blustery here, but elsewhere winds should turn fairly light, and a mostly mild night, lows reaching around 11 to 12 degrees Celsius. Across the south, once again, that's where we'll see the bulk of the rain on Thursday. A heavy band of rain just pushing into central parts of East Anglia and southeast England through the course of the morning. It should eventually break up, turning more towards heavy showers by the time we reach the afternoon. And we're still expecting plenty of showers scattered across the country, even as we head towards later into the day. Once again, highs reaching around 21 degrees Celsius, but another unsettled day ahead.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Box Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. The M8 eastbound is restricted at junction 28 due to a broken down vehicle. Allow extra travel time. The M25 clockwise between junctions 5 and 6 is delayed by a collision, closing 2 lanes with delays up to an hour. In Northamptonshire, an accident on the M1 southbound between junctions 16 and 15A has closed 3 lanes. Near East Riding of Yorkshire, 1 lane is blocked on the M62 westbound exit slip at junction 35. And on the trains, major disruption affects the London Overground between Dalston Junction and Norwood Junction, while Avanti West Coast faces issues through Carlisle. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
It's our biggest Great British giveaway to date. You could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primera motorhome. This 4-berth home from home comes complete with integrated kitchen and bathroom areas and has all of the tech you'd expect from the latest 2025 model. We'll also give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to make sure that any adventures you take in your new motorhome are taken in style. For a chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
The Prime Minister hits out at the Metropolitan Police on free speech.
Sir Keir Starmer tells police to concentrate on serious crimes as Graham Linehan is detained over tweets.
Well, it comes as the gender-critical Father Ted writer was arrested and detained at Heathrow Airport as he got off a flight from the United States.
But as shoplifting soars, do the police have their priorities in the right place?
Nigel Farage is in Washington. The Reform UK leader will address the House Judiciary Committee in the US Capitol, looking at European threats to free speech and innovation.
The Chancellor under pressure. Rachel Reeves faces intense scrutiny as long-term borrowing costs soar to a 27-year high.
You know, it's just so... It's so fake. I knew they were saying, like, is he okay? How's he feeling? What's wrong?
President Trump addresses the press for the first time in a week, hitting out at those viral rumours of his ill health and even speculation that he was dead.
You know, frankly, emetic to watch of sick-making, to watch Putin being welcomed to America like that.
In a GB News exclusive, Boris Johnson calls for President Trump to increase economic sanctions on Russia.
The Trump administration releases thousands of Epstein files, 33,000 documents relating to the late child sex offender. The Democrats suggest, though, that most has already been made public.
A show of force to the world. President Xi, Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong-un put on a united front as they arrive in Beijing, with China showcasing its latest military hardware.
A third of the new Strictly lineup are taking fat jabs, sparking fears that the stars won't be able to keep up with the show's gruelling dance schedule.
And in sport this morning, in cricket, England are thrashed by South Africa in the first one-day international. They'll have another go tomorrow. Carlos Alcaraz has breezed into the US Open semi-finals, where Novak Djokovic waits for him. And how do you find out if you've been picked for Europe's Ryder Cup team?
Hello there, good morning. A yellow warning for rainfall has been issued across southern parts of England and Wales. Stay tuned and I'll be here with all the details.
Good morning to you. It's just gone 8 o'clock. I'm Ellie Costello.
And I'm Cameron Walker, and this is GB News Breakfast.
Well, let's get straight into the politics this morning, shall we? Because joining us now is Shadow Housing Secretary Sir James Cleverly. Good to see you this morning, Mr. Cleverly.
Good morning.
And let's start, shall we, with the arrest of the gender-critical comedy writer Graham Linehan at Heathrow Airport on Monday. Now, of course, you will appreciate this is a live case, so we need to be careful. But police have said he was arrested on suspicion of inciting violence in relation to posts on X. What's your response to his arrest? Because it does raise concerns, doesn't it, about the state of free speech in Britain?
Well, as you say, I don't know all the details. I only know what's in the public domain. From what I have seen, this looks to be an overreaction to what is a joke that Graham himself said was not necessarily a funny joke. But I think it's important that we don't overreact, that we don't start policing criticism. Freedom of speech is important. It's something we value in the UK. We do have it, and we do protect it. I've been to parts of the world as Foreign Secretary where freedom of speech really is not a reality. That's not where we are. But this does appear, from what I can see, to be overreaction to a rather crass joke.
Cleverly, the Reform UK leader Nigel Farage is in Washington today giving evidence to the House Judiciary Committee in the United States, talking about threats to free speech as a whole in the UK. Do you share his concerns?
Nigel Farage is trying to advance his own political agenda. As I say, I've been to parts of the world where freedom of speech really is curtailed. We've got to be careful that we don't add to what I think is fundamentally a political attack from Nigel Farage towards his own country. We do have freedom of speech, we value it, but it does need protecting, and we do see, sadly, some overzealous people at times curtailing that. But for the most part, this is a fantastic country. It is a country that has real freedoms, including freedom of speech. We do need to protect that, and I don't think the Labour Party are doing a good enough job. But as I say, Farage has got a political agenda. I think we need to be realistic about that.
Can I ask you about digital IDs, because the government is considering them for everyone in the UK, in part coming from pressure from Emmanuel Macron, who demanded that the UK crack down on this pull factor for illegal working as part of the one-in, one-out deal with France. Is this something that the Conservatives would support or even consider?
Well, I don't think that law-abiding people should be made to curtail their freedoms just because others are not playing by the rules. And we certainly don't, we don't create domestic policy at the behest of foreign heads of state or foreign governments. The point is that we have always been a free and freedom-loving country. I'm a freedom-loving Conservative. I think that almost everyone in my party on I suppose my side of the political spectrum would feel very uncomfortable with people, law-abiding people, being forced to do something just because others are not playing by the rules. The Labour Party does need to crack down on immigration. They have spectacularly failed to do that. They thought it was going to be easy. Their complacency is now evident for all to see. We have got a credible plan. Chris Philp, the Shadow Home Secretary, has got a credible plan, a deliverable plan, unlike Labour, unlike other political parties, to get a grip of this. But I don't think curtailing the freedoms of law-abiding people is the right way forward.
The Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, is considering reportedly taxing high-value family homes. What do you make of that?
Well, Rachel Reeves is doing so much damage because of the speculation that she's initiated over the summer about taxes on business, taxes on families, taxes on farms, taxes on people's homes. And this is just another example of this. The Labour Party, Rachel Reeves in particular, are really, really messing up when it comes to the economy. And going after people's family homes is another, I think, damaging policy idea put forward by the Labour Party. Now, they could kill this speculation today. If they vote for our motion, they could put this debate completely to one side. So it'll be very interesting to see whether they have actually got the courage and confidence to properly, formally and publicly kill this speculation, because it's really damaging the British economy. We're seeing the 30-year gilt yields once again at record highs, and that is damaging the British economy.
Can I ask you about Operation Raise the Colours? I'm sure that you've seen flags, perhaps in your local area, the Union flag, the St George's Cross being flown from roundabouts or from bridges above roads. The new Greens leader, Zach Polanski, was asked about the flag yesterday, asked if he was proud to fly it. He said there was a huge space for being patriotic in this country, but he said that some people can experience flag waving as intimidation. What are your thoughts on that? And are you proud to wave our country's flag?
Of course I am. Of course I am. That's the flag that I served under as a member of the Reserve Forces. That is a flag that was in the background of meetings that I had when I was Foreign Secretary. It is the flag of my country. It is a country of which I am deeply proud, a flag of which I'm deeply proud. And if there are people who are uncomfortable with the symbols and iconography of our country, a fantastic, open, generous, wonderful country, then I think they should be asking themselves some questions, but also where you've got Labour politicians who have for years, decades, implied there is something untoward about the flag of our country, I think they should be asking themselves some difficult questions as well.
Mr Cleverly, you are criticising the Labour government this morning on not having a comprehensive strategy to support struggling pubs and restaurants and hotels. Well, what is your plan then to support struggling pubs, restaurants and hotels?
Well, one of the first things that the government needs to do is reverse this really damaging tax on jobs. Their changes to national insurance thresholds, their changes to youth minimum wage, these things are pricing young workers out of the market. And the hospitality sector is often the first job that people have. It's often near where they live, in a cafe or a restaurant, in a pub. It is the stepping stone onto a future career. And the Labour Party is killing jobs in the hospitality sector, pricing pubs, restaurant, bars and clubs out of the market, and in doing so making it impossible or much harder for young people to get on the employment ladder. They could reverse it this autumn in the budget at a sweep and give the hospitality sector a real boost. And what they could do is they could prove their intent by supporting our motion this afternoon.
So James Cleverly, thank you so much for your time this morning on Breakfast. Now at 10 minutes past 8, in a GB News exclusive, Boris Johnson has said the war in Ukraine could be over by the end of the year if Donald Trump toughens sanctions on Moscow.
The first thing to say about the Ukrainians is that they remain absolutely heroic. Putin still holds less than 20% of their country. He's making glacial progress.
But he's demanding bits that he hasn't even got yet.
He's being reversed. And whatever people say about Trump, to be fair to him, has actually continued to let the flow of weapons go to the Ukraine, which is the most important thing. I think what is needed now is for Donald Trump to follow his instincts, really toughen up on economic sanctions, and I think that Putin is in a much weaker position than people say.
Well, the former Prime Minister told our political correspondent Catherine Forster that Putin's position is much weaker than people think, as Russia faces fuel shortages, rising inflation and failures on the battlefield.
Well, Boris Johnson also said he'd back British troops on the ground in Ukraine, but only in the context of a secure peace settlement.
Well, GB News' political correspondent Catherine Forster joins us in the studio now. Good morning to you, Catherine. Of course, you spoke to Boris Johnson yesterday. He had a lot of warnings, didn't he, about what is going on with Putin and the war in Ukraine?
Yes, he did. But as always, Boris Johnson is always affable. He's always entertaining. And what struck me was he was quite critical, actually, of the White House and their sort of moral equivalence, he said, between Russia and Ukraine. He said it's clear who the bad guys are, Russia, and the good guys, Ukraine. And he said that it's infuriating and frustrating to hear that coming out of the White House. But he did then say, look, you know, the war could be over by Christmas, as you heard, if Donald Trump gets tough. I was also talking to him about border security, which we clearly don't have much at the moment, and he said Rwanda was the answer. He's clearly massively frustrated. And I said to him, well, you know, the election was called before there was the chance to put the people on the planes. And he said, I didn't call the election. I would have won the election. So what seems clear to me is that Boris Johnson still believes that he was very wronged by them taking him out, and that they should have left him in position. And if they had, you know, they would have stopped the boats. He would have still been Prime Minister. There's a parallel universe, isn't there? We will never know. But he's very concerned about his legacy. He didn't want to talk about Kemi Badenoch. He didn't want to talk about Nigel Farage. I did ask him about the Boris wave, under which migration went up to 1 million. He sort of batted that away. He said, you know, Ukrainians and students and so on and so forth. He's very concerned with what he did, what he could have done. And I suspect, I mean, never say never, but could we see Boris Johnson return?
Ooh. I was just about to ask you that. What do you think, your sense from talking to him?
Well, my sense is he's got unfinished business. My sense is that he would dearly like to come back. Now, OK, it's very unlikely. I was interested in the responses on social media. A lot of people still so angry and dismissive of Boris Johnson. But there's still others thinking Boris was the answer. And the thing is, you've got Nigel Farage, who, like Donald Trump, like Boris Johnson, has an amazing gift of connecting with people. Kemi Badenoch, Keir Starmer, they don't have that in the same way. They may be very diligent, very methodical, but I would just say, I mean, never say never. People wrote off Donald Trump, didn't they? They wrote him off before he was ever president the first time. And then after that, lots of people thought there was no way on earth that he would ever get in again. And look at him now.
Indeed. Yeah. Catherine Forster, thank you very much. And if you want to watch that full interview between Catherine and Boris Johnson, it is on GB News' YouTube channel.
Yeah, and it's a very good watch. Thank you very much, Catherine. Now, let's get a check on the weather with Anna.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Some heavy downpours expected this morning, particularly across the south where there is a Met Office yellow weather warning in force. Behind this, thundery showers, and it is going to be a blustery day for all. Heavy outbreaks of rain pushing their way eastwards, eventually skirting in parts of Scotland, northern parts of England. It's certainly going to be an unsettled day for all, with outbreaks of rain this often turning heavy and possibly even thundery. Perhaps turning a little brighter across central and southern parts into the afternoon, but in between some heavy thundery showers as well. And it is going to be a fairly breezy day, particularly across the south where we are expecting some coastal gales at times. Highs reaching around 22 degrees Celsius in the south, but obviously the unsettled day offsetting those temperatures. Further spells are expected as we head through into the evening, particularly across Scotland, northern parts of England, still pushing their way northwards, lingering across the Northern Isles through much of the night. Brightening up across Northern Ireland, northern parts of England, but still once again a chance of heavy blustery showers, and fairly similar across the rest of England and Wales. There is a chance of showers still, particularly in the west, perhaps turning a little dry across parts of East Anglia, central and south east England. Now, for a time, once any heavy rain pushes away across the far northeast of the country, we'll see some drier, clearer spells, but still a continuation of showers across the northwestern half of the country, and then once again a return of longer, heavy spells of rain pushing into the far southwest, still remaining fairly blustery here, but elsewhere winds should turn fairly light, and a mostly mild night, lows reaching around 11 to 12 degrees Celsius. Across the south, once again, that's where we'll see the bulk of the rain on Thursday. A heavy band of rain just pushing into central parts of East Anglia and southeast England through the course of the morning. It should eventually break up, turning more towards heavy showers by the time we reach the afternoon. And we're still expecting plenty of showers scattered across the country, even as we head towards later into the day. Once again, highs reaching around 21 degrees Celsius, but another unsettled day ahead.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Now, it's 17 minutes past 8. The hashtag They Knew campaign, led by the Rochdale whistleblower Maggie Oliver, is seeking accountability for failures in addressing the grooming gang scandal. The group is fundraising to pursue legal action against public servants who neglected abuse victims.
Well, this initiative follows comments from Safeguarding Minister Jess Phillips, who emphasised that the grooming gang's inquiry should be thorough and stated that those found to have disgraced public office should face prison.
Let me say and be very clear, and it be taken away by everybody who I'm sure has the victim's best interests at heart, that it will cover what it needs to cover to uncover the truth. And no stone will be left unturned.
Well, GB News' national reporter Charlie Peters joins us now. Very good morning to you, Charlie. And tell us more about this campaign.
Well, good morning, Ellie and Cameron. It was launched earlier this year, and they were giving me a statement last night in reaction to those comments from Jess Phillips in the Commons yesterday. They said that the mechanism by which the government would hold public servants to account if they were involved in the cover-up or failure to protect victims of these child abuse networks was no clearer as a result of the Safeguarding Minister's statement. They told me last night that this was more examples of rhetoric rather than action. And it's action, they say, that victims, survivors, their families and the campaigners desperately need. But it was quite a stern statement from Jess Phillips, giving an update to the House on the progress on that national inquiry into the grooming gang scandal announced in June, saying that they were closing in on the selection of a chair and that a panel of victims and survivors had been organised and would be closely involved in that selection. But Jess Phillips made those statements amid criticism from opposite benches who said that almost 3 months after that announcement, it's not clear when this inquiry will launch. And Esther McVey, former Conservative minister, said that this was a masterclass in procrastination by the government. She suggested that the delay could be in order to prevent this inquiry returning before the next general election, with Baroness Casey, who recommended it, saying it could take around 3 years. Now, the Shadow Home Secretary, Chris Philp, he was asking, do we expect this inquiry to make sure public servants are held to account? That's when Jess Phillips made those comments, but she also said that so far that has never happened. Speaking to survivors last night, they said that they were not feeling particularly confident that public servants would be held to account, but we know there are many who should be on the receiving end of some justice.
Very much for that update. And still to come, Strictly starts taking fat jabs. We will be telling you more about that next.
Five hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates,
5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5.
You got me. You got me good there.
Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight. On the unpredictable.
What does she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace to Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
And the second season of the Duchess of Sussex's lifestyle show with Love Meghan, I know you're excited, Nana.
I can't wait.
Has now been released on Netflix.
These moments of discovery and beauty. So let's be curious together. Do you know who doesn't like lobster?
Who?
My husband.
And you'll marry him?
I was lucky enough to be given a sneak peek of all 8 episodes, so I've seen the entire thing. I think if you like a cooking show, if you don't want to think much when you're watching it, the show's probably for you.
But it's lies.
If you don't like Meghan Markle, if you don't like the Duchess of Sussex and how she's got to the show, arguably her critics would clearly say that she wouldn't have been given this platform without marrying Prince Harry, etc., then you're going to hate it. I mean, Meghan clearly has a passion for it. I think the top line, actually, is the fact that she says she was unwell when she was forced to be away from her children for almost 3 weeks. And what we suspect that period was after the Queen's death. in 2022. Remember, she was here with Harry, and then obviously the Queen died, so they were here for another couple of weeks.
And hasn't she flown over some chef to show her how to cook things because she doesn't really know how to do it?
Yeah, the chef who cooks for her wedding with Harry, she's been flown over into a very, very complicated halibut. And there's lots of behind-the-scenes photos of that wedding as well. So again, it's that link to the royal family that keeps
dragging the royal family
through.
back into it just to give her something to say to make her of interest. I'm just kind of bored of it all now. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean,
I'm just bored of it.
I think we'll see. It'll be interesting to see how it rates, because obviously the only one that really rated well for Netflix was when they were, talking about themselves leaving the royal family, where clearly they spilled a lot of royal secrets. So that rated very well. The first season of With Love Meghan did OK, but it wasn't the most highly rated show on Netflix. We'll see what season 2 does. I mean, Meghan clearly has a passion for it. It's what she did with the Tig before she was a working member of the royal family. You're either going to love it or hate it, aren't you?
Grifting?
It's Marmite.
The People's Channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
It's time for our latest Great British giveaway now. It's our biggest prize ever, worth over £104,000. Here are all of the details that you need.
It's our biggest, greatest Great British giveaway to date. Your chance to win a prize package worth over £104,000.
You could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primero motorhome. With thanks to Marquis Leisure, this 4-berth home from home comes complete with integrated kitchen and bathroom areas, sky view roof lights, and has all the tech you'd expect from the latest 2025 model.
We'll also give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to make sure any adventures in your motorhome are taken in style.
For a chance to win the motorhome and cash, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. The winner will be contacted live on GB News, week commencing 10th November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Yes, good luck. Now, good luck to those who are taking part in the new series of Strictly Come Dancing, because that's approaching, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
And there are reports that Strictly bosses are concerned because lots of the celebrities are using fat jabs to get match fit.
Yes, and many are worried that this could prevent the cast from receiving the required amount of calories, with some speculating it could lead to a raft of dropouts down the line.
Well, to discuss this, we're joined by showbiz journalist Ed Glebe. Good to see you this morning, Ed. I mean, you can see the concern, can't you? Because it's a gruelling schedule, isn't it?
Yes, Strictly is notoriously tough physically, I think mentally as well, but primarily physically. They're doing sort of 8 hours a day, sometimes 12 hours a day if you get to the later stages and you're learning extra dances. I mean, it's a full-time job. I think they sort of take Sundays off, but Monday to Saturday it's pretty full on. Physically, it can be quite intense. So, yeah, if you're not having enough calories, it would be really difficult.
But Ed, what's the need for the jabs? Because, of course, dancing is a form of exercise, good cardio. So probably, even if you were a little bit overweight, you may lose it naturally by just exercising and doing the dancing. Why do you need fat jabs?
Well, I mean, you'd be surprised actually how many of them say they put on weight. Because they eat so much normally. A lot of them will, I'll say to them, oh, you're losing weight, you're working so hard. And they say, well, actually, I've put on a bit of weight because I'm eating so much to try and cope with the intense sort of physical demands of the programme. So, it isn't actually the case. And the thing is, for a lot of them, this is the biggest thing they'll ever do. And I guess they want to look their best, perhaps. I mean, looking at the lineup, I can't really see that it's necessary, really, for a lot of them. But it's possible that vanity is involved here, and they're thinking, do I want to look overweight at the launch? Maybe they want to trim down in time for their big moment in the spotlight.
Now, I imagine it's a very image-conscious show as well, with the sorts of outfits that they'll be wearing on national TV every weekend.
Absolutely, very skimpy outfits. Obviously, particularly for the women, famously very skimpy. But a lot of the men are often sort of shirtless or shirts sort of wide open. Also, they're stood next to some of the sort of fittest people on television, which I think would make anyone feel a little bit insecure. And I think this is the first year where these jabs have been so widely available, so normalised. So I think it's not surprising that celebrities who are notoriously insecure. People are sort of turning to them for a little bit of a boost, perhaps, to try and get trim in time for the series.
Yeah, you do look at the professional dancers and think they are incredibly athletic, but there is also such a huge pressure for the celebrities with social media and people commenting on their appearance or the way they're dancing Saturday night after Saturday night after Saturday night on Twitter and various other social media platforms. So perhaps that's part of it as well.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think that's probably the biggest part of it, really. I mean, I would guess a lot of celebrities, the first thing they do after a big TV appearance is Google themselves or check Twitter and things like that. So, yeah, I think Twitter or social media is ruthless. If someone looks a certain way, people are going to comment on it. People will say anything on social media. It's sort of a wild west. And so, you know what? I think a lot of us, if we were going to be on a really big show of that scale, having never done anything like that before, we would probably be thinking, oh, shall I get this, that done, whatever. It wouldn't surprise me if some people are getting Botox and things like that as well.
OK. Ellie, thank you for joining us this morning on Breakfast.
Well, a BBC spokesperson said, whilst we wouldn't comment on personal matters of this nature, we are not aware of anything to support these claims.
Now, if you're travelling to work or school this morning, so many of the schools are back, including the Royal Children.
Yes, Prince and Princess of Wales' children are back today at Lambrook.
Yeah, well, here's your traffic and travel update.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good morning, this is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. Significant delays on the M1 southbound between junctions 16 and 15A due to a collision with 3 lanes closed. Plan ahead as congestion disrupts the area. On the M25, clockwise travel between junctions 5 and 6 faces, delays for up to 1.5 hours. Consider alternate routes. Southbound on the M8 between the A420 and the A430, a breakdown causes delays. And on the trains, London Overground faces major disruption between Dalston Junction and Norwood Junction, while Avanti West Coast encounters problems through Carlisle. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world. Am I allowed to talk now? No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it? Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Dubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here
We do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, you didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. The time is 8:33. Time to go through all the sports. Paul Coit is here and Alexander Isak. Forever grateful to Newcastle, even though he's training separately from the rest of the squad.
Yes, well, now he's left. Now he's gone to Liverpool, £125 million, so it's a record fee, and we know that, you know, he wasn't really being that good to Newcastle because he wanted to leave, so refused to play, refused to train, so he forced the move. So now he's spoken to the people of Newcastle, who I'm sure are going to be forever in his debt and very moved by what he has to say. He says, forever grateful to Newcastle. I want to express my gratitude to my teammates, the staff, and above all, the city of Newcastle and all the amazing supporters. Listen, you can do this, mate, but they ain't going to fall for it. For 3 unforgettable years we spent together. And Isak's agent, Vlado Lemic, his name is, has said, it's nice when you have someone to be with, but it's even nicer when you know who you'll never be with again.
You say he refused to play even. Yeah. Surely he's contracted to play.
So what are they going to do?
Well, we've sold him.
Well, that's it. Yeah. That's the whole thing. It's like, well, you've got a contract, you've got to play. I'm not going to play. Because back in years ago, it was always managers would speak to the players, this is what you've got to do. And now players, they hold all the cards, they have all the power. And if they want to move, they can always get the move because there's so much money involved. And because they would waste all this money and they know that if he's not going to play, they've got no money to buy anybody else. So they've got to go with it.
And isn't it a record transfer fee? Yeah. 125 million.
125 million. Record British transfer fee.
That's crazy money.
So, yeah. So how do you think the people of Newcastle will react to his statement? I think I could blow a raspberry now, but I really don't think I should. Let's go to the tennis. Should we do a bit of tennis? US Open. Let's have a look now. Some celebrations. Carlos Alcaraz is through. He beat Jiri Lehecka from the Czech Republic, 6-4, 6-2. Honestly, it was a commanding display, and I just like the celebration afterwards. See, he was celebrating with Rory McIlroy. He looked up to Rory McIlroy when he played the other day, and he's done it again. And who is it this time? It's Sergio Garcia. Spanish golfer Sergio Garcia. So there's always going to be a golfer in there supporting him because he loves the golf. And also the same thing, then we had Novak Djokovic as well, who's also doing his own celebration. So who's going to win between these two? And that is for his daughter, who was celebrating her birthday.
And it's a K-pop.
K-pop
Demon Hunters.
That's it.
Maybe he should go on Strictly. Come dancing.
Maybe he should.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, well, you got to wait for him to retire,
sure.
so you don't know. Maybe he will. Maybe he will. But he doesn't need any Ozempic, does he?
No, he certainly doesn't need Ozempic.
I think he's going to be absolutely fine.
Classic enough.
And just finally, to talk about Grimsby Town, they've been fined.
Yeah, well, Grimsby Town, yes. I mean, they beat Manchester United on penalties last week in the Carabao Cup. They've been fined £20,000 for fielding an ineligible player. It's Clark Odor. His registration was just too late. I mean, you know what? They can make a big deal about it. Manchester United could complain and say, well, we want to replay the game. They're not going to. It was just a mistake, so it was no real big deal. So it's just one of those things that happened. But 20 grand for Grimsby is probably fair amount compared to if it's 20 grand.
But they still reigned
to
victorious
Manchester
over
United.
Manchester United, which of course was such a shock loss for them.
They did indeed. Yeah, they did, absolutely.
OK.
OK, Coity, thank you very
tomorrow.
much.
Still to come, we will be joined by Wes Streeting, the Health Secretary, in just a moment. But first, if you're in some search of some holiday sun, here's the forecast for some of the top European holiday destinations.
Dinner under the stars tonight?
That reminds me of our travel insurance.
You mean all clear skies?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Parts of France will experience heavy, possibly thundery showers over the coming days, but elsewhere across northern parts of Europe, it should remain mostly fine and settled. That's certainly the case across much of Portugal and Spain, though northern parts of Spain may start to catch some of these showers pushing their way into France. As they say, some of these could turn into quite heavy downpours with a risk of hail and thunder. Elsewhere across Europe, though, mostly fine, settled, bar the odd shower across parts of Greece, and the settled weather remains over the weekend with temperatures in the mid-20s to low 30s.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
I thought, well, why not? It's a very ambitious project. But I'm not surprised it's so many years behind schedule, and the sheer cost of it is amazing. But it's a shame it looks like it might not be going ahead, but there are a few countries they can use as a bit of a backup.
Oh, Eddie, we've got some images here of you on the screen. Do you remember these moments here?
Oh, I remember them well. It's nearly 38 years ago, back in Calgary, and I can still remember it like it was yesterday.
Was that the 19... So Eddie, just for the audience know who you are the first person to represent Great Britain in Olympic ski jumping. That's right. So that was it 1988. Was this your first performance we can see here?
It was. I think it was the small hill, that one, and on the 70 metre, and then a week later I did the 90 metre. So, yeah, I became Britain's first ever Olympic ski jumper. So I still remember it like it was yesterday.
Oh, well, absolutely. Look at those scenes. They're absolutely glorious, Eddie. Love to see it. Well, just go back to our previous topic there for a second. So you know, I'm guessing you have seen some of the facilities around the world. Where seems like a sensible place to have this? Because, of course, we're considering South Korea and other countries as well. Where would you pick this? What would be the best location in your experience, Eddie?
Well, actually, about, I can't remember the year, but at least 10 to 15 years ago, I commentated on the Asian Olympics, and I was commentating when it was in Kazakhstan, in Almaty. Right. So that's another place that they could use for the Asian Olympics. Unfortunately, in the ski jumping event where I was commentating, there were only 12 jumpers taking part. So it was a very, very small competition, but it was great fun. And they do have a ski jump in Kazakhstan, so maybe they can use that as well as a backup.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised. I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. Joining us to go through what's making the news this morning is journalist and broadcaster Claire Muldoon and former Labour advisor James Schneider. Good morning to you
morning.
both. Hello. Claire, can we talk about the new Green Party leader and his strange past as a hypnotist?
Well, do you know what? I don't think many people actually knew what the Green Party were about until about 48 hours ago when Zach Belansky came on the scene and managed to turn the public vote upside down. Now, let's just remember, Cameron, back in 2024, the last general election, the Greens got 6.7% of the voting share, ended up with 4 seats. Reform, 14.3%, that's almost more than double, and got 5 or 6 seats, and now 5 with Rupert Lowe's defection away from Reform. And, you know, you have to ask yourself, after the debacle of Scottish politics and what the Greens have done up there, the bottle exchange scheme that was really not fit for purpose, and everything else that they have done, Carla Denyer didn't seem to have much gas left in her either to talk about anything. But here we are, we've got the optic. There's Zach Palensky there, sitting next to Carla Denyer, obviously in a green outfit, and you just think, wow, what's happening? And he's got some really strong messages, none of which deal blows to climate change, none of which deal blows to carbon neutral and net zero gain to 2050. He's all about flirting around the outskirts and the periphery of the Labour Party, saying he's actually a reformist, saying he's actually any vote for Labour is a vote for the Tories. And you just think, gosh, where did you come from? From your consulting room in Harley Street, if it was Harley Street, I'm not actually sure where you were consulting, hypnotising women to enlarge their breasts.
Yes, interesting. James, a lot of people are saying that he could well be the Nigel Farage of the left in terms of the messaging, in terms of the communication with the public. Do you think there's any truth in that?
I think what Claire's responding to is what an incredibly effective campaign that he's run for leader. I think he's got more column inches and broadcast minutes for the Green Party running as the leader than I can remember any of them getting for the last decade. And that's because he, rather than what the Green Party's previous thing has been before, which has been, you know, nice but a bit wet.
Bit Lib Demi, shall we say.
Bit Lib Demi, a bit meh. He's gone for eco-populism. They presented this as being totally different politics from Farage, but attention-grabbing, big lines of antagonism, fighting the rich, taking things on, front on, and he's got a lot of attention for it. Yeah. And I think that's a good thing. I think showing up the fact that the Labour Party in government are doing absolutely nothing, and that our country is in a big mess and we need very real change, and to do that we need to take on the entrenched wealth and power of the very few, is a very good message. And so I'm not surprised that he won, I think it was 85% of the vote or something in the Green thing. It's a huge landslide.
And floating what would be popular policy, Claire, like nationalising or renationalising the water companies.
Yeah, exactly. And we've always spoken about it on here, about renationalisation, because water is a fundamental human right. And why is it in the hands of private companies? You cannot have water for profit. End of. But what we saw in the last general election as well was a big swing in females, young females, particularly in Gen Z, voting for the Greens. They seem to have an affinity with green issues. And, you know, as James said about you mentioned Labour doing nothing. I would say they've created their own net zero because they're doing zero about anything.
And Zach Palensky appeared to be criticising the two-party system of Tory and Labour, of course. So do you think this is the beginning of the end? We've got parties like Reform coming up. We've got the Green Party being talked about more.
I do think so, but I actually think there might be a bit of sidestepping here with the Lib Dems and this new Green Party, because they're often aligned in many things, especially to do with education and taxing. And he said, Zach Palensky said something quite, nail hitting for me. He said he doesn't want to tax and spend. He wants to spend and tax. So whatever, he thinks he has to do, he maintains that growth is a way through this. And I think it's an essential part of any party political manifesto to embrace that. We need growth.
James, let's talk briefly about the British. The British hate the rich, apparently, according to the Downton Abbey creator Julian Fellows.
Yes, I think maybe some people don't like him, perhaps, and he's projecting that onto the entire British public.
Who doesn't like Julian Fellows? Gosford Park.
To be honest, I know...
Monarch of the Glen.
Downton Abbey.
Downton Abbey.
What unites these three shows?
Julian Fellows.
A second thing. I haven't watched them.
Oh.
And thirdly?
On yourself.
No, I haven't. Yes, apparently he says that people in Britain, that's you, apparently you hate people who are successful and who do well at things, which seems to me
quite... Do you not think he's got a point? Politics of envy in this country?
No, so there are two different things. There's praising people for having done well, you know, scientists, footballers, engineers, you know, whatever it might be, and seeing that way too much wealth is hoarded in the hands of very few people, which is making life worse for the overwhelming majority of people. That's not hating the rich for them as people or not liking success. That's wanting success for the entire country.
OK, James, Claire, thank you very much for your company this morning on Breakfast. Really good to see both of you.
Thank you.
Well, let's speak now to the Health Secretary, Wes Streeting. Very good morning to you, Mr Streeting.
Good morning.
Morning. Can I start by asking you about our top story today, which is the arrest of the gender-critical comedy writer Graham Linehan at Heathrow Airport on Monday. The police say he was arrested on suspicion of inciting violence in relation to posts on X. Now, you will appreciate, of course, that this is a live case, but we can discuss the principle, can't we? Because this does raise concerns about free speech in Britain.
Yeah, that's right. I'm very happy to discuss the principle, but obviously can't discuss the individual case. Look, in terms of the principle, the Prime Minister and the Home Secretary have been very clear that in terms of policing priorities, we want to see our police policing streets, not policing tweets. Now, to be fair to the police, because they will come in for a lot of scrutiny and criticism on days like this, the police are there to enforce the laws as passed by Parliament. So if we are looking at things that the police are doing or cases that we've seen go to court and come out the other side and thinking that doesn't seem right or that doesn't seem fair or proportionate or the right priorities, to be honest, that's on us as legislators, as Parliament, to sort out. And I think it's fair to say that over the years there have been well-meaning changes to the law to deal with specific problems as they arise. But what happens is you pile on more expectations on the police, and also people often legislate with good intentions, but don't always see unintended consequences. And it is right, I think, in terms of the online space, there are lots of things that happen online that if they happened on our streets, in our neighbourhoods, we would expect the police to act. So things like grooming of kids, trafficking of people, drugs, weapons, and also targeted harassment of people. That's the sort of thing that if it was happening on our streets, we'd want the police to act, and they should also act online. When it comes to free speech, there have always been some limitations around freedom of speech, but whenever we're legislating in that space, we've got to exercise real care, because freedom of speech, freedom to criticise, freedom to challenge, people to say things that other people might find disagreeable or even offensive, those are rights in a democracy. We've got to get the balance right in that space. And I think that, without commenting on the specific case today, there have been other cases recently where I think we do need a debate about what is right in law and what is proportionate and priority policing in practice.
We speak of priority policing, Mr Streeting. The crime statistics show a rise in the number of shoplifting offences. So 800 unsolved cases daily, I think, has been quoted this morning in a couple of the newspapers. So what are you as a government doing to indicate to the police forces what kind of crimes they should be prioritising?
Yeah, I mean, when we were in opposition, the Home Secretary pointed out, Yvette Cooper pointed out, that some offences like shoplifting had been effectively decriminalised by the Conservatives because too many shoplifting offences, people stealing stuff under 100 quid, for example, were basically not dealt with, not tackled,
but you have been
which is really
for more than a year,
unfair
Mr.
Yeah, we have, and that's why Yvette Cooper has prioritised neighbourhood policing, putting more police back into our communities, focused on those sorts of things like shoplifting, making sure that we don't take that kind of dismissive attitude to so-called petty crime, because let me tell you, on behalf of my local shopkeepers, and including some of the big brands as well, like your Boots on the high street, they're fed up with theft And financial loss, especially for family businesses, those aren't petty crimes. That really hurts these shopkeepers in their pockets and makes it even harder for them to trade. And also, I just say on behalf of the rest of us who don't run shops but use them, it's really depressing, actually, when you see in your own neighbourhood, as I see on my local high streets, people behaving in this way and with impunity. It breeds a sense of lawlessness, and it makes people feel unsafe going to their own high streets. So this is a priority for the Home Secretary. That is why she is looking actively at what it is that over the years Parliament has asked police to do, and what that is then leading them to focus on in practice, and making sure that we've got the law in the right place, the priorities in the right place, and backing our police to do the things that we all expect them to do, which is catch criminals, keep streets safe, and focus on the crimes that are currently going unsolved in too great a number.
OK, Mr Streeting, I wanted to ask you about digital IDs, because there's reports in the papers today that the government is looking at plans for digital ID cards for all UK citizens. It's helped to stop people coming over in small boats and entering the black economy. Deep public suspicion about the rollout of digital IDs. How would you win consent? I'm sure that would be a challenge. It would also be costly. So how would you justify that in terms of the NHS, which you know more than anyone is under strain?
Yeah, you're right to say looking at. We are looking at digital ID. We're looking at how it's worked in other countries. And you're also absolutely right to focus on this issue of consent and where the public are on this. Because on something like digital ID, were we to go ahead, this is something that we would want to do with people rather than to people. And we would want to know from the public things like, you know, should this be mandatory for everyone? Should it be voluntary? What do you do about people that can't access digital services or don't want to access digital services? There are a whole load of questions that flow from it. I personally think there'll be lots of practical benefits. Sometimes I get frustrated when I'm asked to produce a form of ID and it says one of them's got to be a utility bill with my address on. Well, most of them come by email now or via an app, so it can be a bit of a pain in the backside. More seriously, on illegal immigration, I think it is a big problem for this country that we've got people who are already here or have come over via these boats, and the state doesn't know who they are, where they are, and it's hard to track them down. Now, this Home Secretary has presided over record numbers of deportations, but if she was standing here right now, she would say, despite that record number, there is so much more to do. She's determined to do it, and we've got to give them the tools to do the job. And so on digital ID, I think it's less about stopping boats. There are other measures that we are taking to try and deal with that issue. It's more about if people have got into this country illegally, they haven't come through an airport terminal or via one of our ports and got a visa in the right way. That is where digital ID could be really effective in clamping down on that illegal migration, so that people who should not be here, who have no right to be here, are deported, because we know that is an issue that is of real concern to the country.
Health Secretary, you are announcing this morning a ban on energy drinks for under 16s. How are you going to enforce this ban for, you know, local corner shops, which aren't necessarily, you know, there's a lot of big supermarkets who do this voluntarily, but also what's the healthy alternatives which are affordable for those deprived communities who are disproportionately affected by this?
We are doing exactly what we said we'd do in our manifesto. There's a manifesto promise we made, promise kept. In terms of how we're doing it, so today we're kicking off a 12-week consultation because we want to do this with businesses rather than to businesses. A number of retailers already do this, so we can learn from their experience of what's worked and what hasn't, share that best practice with others, but also listen to those retailers, particularly some of those smaller businesses, about how much time they'd need, what support they would need, and how we should write the regulation in a way that makes it workable for them. There are obvious education and health benefits. I mean, one of those cans of Monster or Prime, for example, is the same as necking 4 cans of Coke on the way to school this morning. Big impact on concentration and learning. That's why a majority of teachers want us to act. And parents can see the impact on children's behaviour and sleep patterns as well, which is why 8 in 10 parents want us to act. So we promised we'd do this. We are doing it, but we're consulting properly so it works in practice, not just in principle.
OK, Mr Streeting, we're out of time with you. Thank you very much for your company on Breakfast this morning. Do stay with us. We'll be talking about Nigel Farage in Washington, D.C. in the next few minutes.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. Expect significant delays if travelling on Northamptonshire's M1 southbound between Junction 16 and Junction 15A due to a road traffic collision. 3 of 4 lanes are closed, leading to 2-hour delays, with normal traffic expected between 11:15 and 11:30 this morning. In Surrey, the M25 clockwise between Junction 5 and Junction 6 has a road traffic collision, closing 1 of 4 lanes, causing delays of 1.5 hours, with normal flow expected around 10:50 today. And on the trains, disruptions continue on the Elizabeth line, as well as Greater Anglia services between Romford and Shenfield. That's all for now. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
It's our biggest Great British giveaway to date. You could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primera motorhome. This 4-berth home from home comes complete with integrated kitchen and bathroom areas and has all of the tech you'd expect from the latest 2025 model. We'll also give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to make sure that any adventures you take in your new motorhome are taken in style. For a chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
The Prime Minister hits out at the Metropolitan Police on free speech.
Sir Keir Starmer tells police to concentrate on serious crime as Graham Linehan is detained over tweets.
It comes as the gender-critical Father Ted writer was arrested at Heathrow Airport as he got off a flight from the United States.
But as shoplifting soars, do the police have their priorities in the right place?
Well, let's hear what Health Secretary Wes Streeting had to say.
Look, in terms of the principle, the Prime Minister and the Home Secretary have been very clear that in terms of policing priorities, we want to see our police policing streets, not policing tweets.
And the Shadow Housing Secretary, James Cleverly, said this.
I think it's important that we don't overreact, that we don't start policing criticism. Freedom of speech is important.
Well, in a timely visit, Nigel Farage is in Washington. The Reform UK leader will address the House Judiciary Committee in the US Capitol, looking at European threats to free speech and innovation.
The Chancellor under pressure. Rachel Reeves faces intense scrutiny as long-term borrowing costs soar to a 27-year high.
You know, it's just so... It's so fake. I knew they were saying, like, is he okay? How's he feeling? What's wrong?
President Trump addresses the press for the first time in a week, hitting out at those viral rumours on his ill health and even speculation that he was dead.
You know, frankly, emetic to watch of sick-making, to watch
Putin being welcomed to America like that.
In a GB News exclusive, Boris Johnson calls for President Trump to increase economic sanctions on Russia.
A show of force to the world. President Xi, Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong-un put on a united front as they arrive in Beijing, with China showcasing its latest military hardware.
Hello there, good morning. A yellow warning for rainfall has been issued across southern parts of England and Wales. Stay tuned and I'll be here with all the details.
It's just gone 9 o'clock. I'm Ellie Costello.
And I'm Cameron Walker, and this is GB News Breakfast. And we're delighted to be joined by the Deputy Leader of the Liberal Democrats now, Daisy Cooper. Good morning to you, Daisy. First of all, can I just talk to you about the arrest of Graham Lineker at Heathrow Airport, supposedly over tweets? Obviously, we have to be quite careful because this is an active criminal case. But more broadly, what do you think the state is of free speech in the United Kingdom today?
Well, look, I think on this very specific case, there are three different issues. The first is whether or not I like those tweets, and I'll be honest, I don't. The second is whether or not it is illegal, and as you say, that's a live police case, and that is under investigation, so we can't comment on that question. That's for the police to determine. But there's a third question about whether or not it was a proportionate response from the police to send 5 armed guards to arrest somebody for this particular offence. So I think it's really important that we break down those three different issues and tackle them individually and don't conflate them. But on the broader picture of free speech, I'm a free speech advocate. I was before I got elected as a Member of Parliament. I think we have a long, strong tradition in this country of standing up for free speech, and it is important that we protect it. But I have to be honest with you, I do find it a bit galling that people like Nigel Farage think themselves to be champions of free speech when it's reform-led councils that are banning journalists from even coming along and reporting on them. So I think some people need to take a hard look in the mirror before they appoint themselves as self-appointed champions.
Well, in the case of what we're discussing this morning, which is Graham Lineker, I mean, some would say it's part of a disturbing pattern. Let's talk about the policing response and whether it is proportionate. Because, as you say, 5 armed police officers arrested Graham Lineker at Heathrow Airport on Monday. I suppose people watching and listening this morning, they'll see the shoplifting rate soaring, phone theft rising in the capital, largely ignored by the police in the capital. Do the police have their priorities straight, do you feel?
Well, look, I think what we can see overall in Great Britain is that very serious and violent crime is coming down, which is a good thing and very welcome. But you're right, things like shoplifting are going up, snatch crimes like snatching people's phones going up as well. And of course we want police on the front line. And we Liberal Democrats have repeatedly called for a return to community policing, where police officers know their community, they know who the troublemakers are, and they can more effectively police in their community with consent. And that's really, really important. But I'm also going to say right now, I do have some sympathy for the police, because ultimately when it comes to our laws, it's for politicians like me to make the law, and it's for the police to then uphold the law. So if there are problems with the law, then it's very important that politicians are held responsible for that. In terms of the proportionality of the response, well, that is a question for the police, and I think it should be looked at.
You just criticised Nigel Farage there and the Reform UK councils over free speech issues, and yet Nigel is in Washington, D.C. today, speaking, having been invited to the House Judiciary Committee, talking about threats to free speech in the UK and Europe. So the Americans appear to be listening to Nigel Farage and a Reform UK leader. I don't see a Liberal Democrat Member of Parliament being invited to that committee in DC.
Well, Liberal Democrat members of Parliament are elected by people in Britain to represent them in the British House of Commons. It's Wednesday today. We have Prime Minister's questions. It's our opportunity as an effective opposition to hold Keir Starmer and the Labour government to account. And quite frankly, when Parliament is sitting, I find it pretty shocking that someone like Nigel Farage, who claims he wants to be the next Prime Minister, is completely missing in action. And as I say, the rank hypocrisy of someone like Nigel Farage pretending to speak about free speech when in reality his own party is banning journalists from reporting on council meetings. And of course he's sidling up to Donald Trump, who has been working hand in glove with Elon Musk to use algorithms to shut down the voices of opposition. We should call out these people who claim to be the champions of free speech when in fact they're not. I'm a champion of free speech, so is my party, and we believe that people with whom we might disagree vehemently still have the right to be heard.
The Greens have elected a new leader, haven't they? Zach Polansky, who won by a landslide. I just wonder how you and the Lib Dems are feeling about that appointment. Are you feeling threatened, potentially? Because historically, your two parties have been aligned on many issues, haven't they? Like the environment, education, tax. How are you feeling this morning?
Well, look, let me start by saying congratulations to Zach. He did win from the membership of the Green Party very conclusively. But the Green Party have really kind of failed to cut through significantly in our sort of first past-the-post system, whereas we Liberal Democrats had our best general election result ever. We now have 72 MPs. In the most recent local elections, we won more seats than both Labour and the Conservatives. So as the Liberal Democrat Deputy Leader, I want to talk to you about my party, the successes that we are having, and our priorities in Parliament.
You have criticised this morning the Chancellor's decision to put employer national insurance on. It's the so-called job tax, as it were. If you were to scrap it, as if you were in power as Liberal Democrats, what would you be doing to decrease that financial black hole that Rachel Reeves keeps talking about?
Well, you're absolutely right. The jobs tax has been an unmitigated disaster, and it's small businesses that have borne the brunt of the loss of vacancies. And our Liberal Democrat analysis shows that it's small businesses have suffered an 18% drop in vacancies in the 3 months after the jobs tax was introduced compared to before the budget. So small businesses are really shouldering the burden of this. We've been very, very clear. The jobs tax is estimated to raise about £10 billion. There are other ways of raising those £10 billion. We've said you could reverse the Conservatives' cuts to the big banks. That would raise about £4 billion. You could increase taxes on the big social media giants to get some of the richest people in the world, like Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg, to pay their fair share as well. You could increase taxes on the big gambling companies. You could reform capital gains tax in a way that closes the loopholes for the super wealthy. That would raise £10 billion in a fairer way and wouldn't be hammering small businesses or family households who are still really struggling with the cost of living crisis.
Okay, Daisy Cooper, we're out of time with you, I'm afraid, but thank you very much for joining us this morning on Breakfast. Now, in a GB News exclusive, Boris Johnson has said the war in Ukraine could be over by the end of the year if Donald Trump toughens sanctions on Moscow.
The first thing to say about the Ukrainians is that they remain absolutely heroic. Putin still holds less than 20% of their country. He's making glacial progress.
But he's demanding bits that he hasn't even got yet.
He's being reversed. And whatever people say about Trump, to be fair to him, has actually continued to let the flow of weapons go to Ukraine, which is the most important thing. I think what is needed now is for Donald Trump to follow his instincts, really toughen up on economic sanctions, and I think that Putin is in a much, much weaker position than people say.
Well, the former Prime Minister told our political correspondent Catherine Forster that Putin's position is much weaker than people think, as Russia faces fuel shortages, rising inflation and failures on the battlefield.
Well, Boris Johnson also said he'd back British troops on the ground in Ukraine, but only in the context of a secure peace settlement.
Well, we're joined now by Catherine Forster in the GB News studio. Good morning, Catherine. It appears to me, and probably to you, that Boris Johnson has unfinished business.
I think he does have unfinished business. We are hearing more from him. And what struck me, well, a couple of things, but frustration, really. Frustration, sure, with Ukraine, the situation, the war is still going on. Frustration with America. He talked of it being infuriating to hear this sort of moral equivalence from the White House between Russia and Ukraine when he says it's very clear, you know, that the bad guy is Russia and that the good guys are Ukraine. huge frustration too, I think, about the small boats crisis. He says, bring back Rwanda. He says it's terrible seeing a great British idea being used now by other countries. We know that America is sending people there. He thinks that that would have done the trick with the small boats. And frustration, fundamentally, I think that he's not Prime Minister anymore, because when I said to him, well, you know, the election was called before you got the chance to put people on the planes, he said, well, I didn't call the election. I would have won the election. Well, we'll never know. But clearly he feels the Conservatives made a terrible, terrible mistake to remove him, that it's all gone downhill since then, that he would have won the election. Looking at the comments that people have been sending in this morning on Your View, a lot of people still absolutely furious with him. But there are some that say, yes, bring back Boris.
Gosh, and how possible do you think that is?
Well, I mean, he doesn't even have a seat. He's currently sort of banned from, he's not even allowed to go into Parliament. His pass was taken away. So I think it's very unlikely. Having said that, lots of things that you would have thought were very unlikely have happened. Who would have thought that he would have lost that majority that he got in 2019, that he would have been removed by his own party? Who would have thought that Labour, one election on from Jeremy Corbyn, would get this massive landslide? Who would have thought that Donald Trump, with all those criminal investigations, would have come back? So strange things happen all the time.
OK. Political correspondent Catherine Forster, thank you for joining us.
Now, at 12 minutes past 9, in a special announcement in the Oval Office last night, President Trump was forced to address online health rumours after a brief absence from the media.
Sort of crazy, but last week I did numerous news conferences, all successful. They went very well, like this is going very well. And then I didn't do any for 2 days, and they said, there must be something wrong with him. Well, it's fake news. You know, it's just it's so fake.
Well, the US president said Labor Day weekend kept him very active, dismissing death reports as fake news.
Well, let's speak now to political commentator Jennifer Powers. It is pretty extraordinary, isn't it, Jennifer, that Donald Trump goes quiet for about 72 hours and then he has to address the press and put to bed those rumours of his demise.
Well, good morning. Yes, Trump re-emerged yesterday in typically triumphant style, announcing the move of U.S. Space Command from Colorado to Alabama. And as you say, this was prompted by so much online speculation about his health. But he was surrounded by many members of his cabinet and other political leaders, including J.D. Vance, the vice president, and was joking and typically Trump in his press conference, although some avid watchers will notice that he might have been a little bit lower in energy than we expect him to be. So interesting times ahead at the White House.
His hand, of course, was visibly coated in makeup during that press conference, which arguably has fueled even more speculation about his health.
Yes, and keen watchers will have spotted that going on for weeks, if not months. And there has been much discussion online about what might be causing that. The most common speculation centers around being on blood thinners and the need to take aspirin or something else similar, perhaps to ward off mini strokes, which are temporary mini strokes, or perhaps even something more worrying. So a cardiovascular issue. I mean, he is a man of 79 years old, 79 years of age, so it's not surprising that he might have cardiovascular issues. And the keen amongst us may have noticed things like swollen ankles, the bruise on his hand, as you say, and sort of puffiness and tiredness in the face.
OK, Jennifer Powers, thank you very much for joining us on Breakfast.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Time now for our Great British giveaway, and it's our biggest prize draw to date, worth over £104,000. Here's all the details.
It's our biggest, greatest Great British giveaway to date. Your chance to win a prize package worth over £104,000.
You could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primero motorhome.
With thanks to Marquis Leisure, this 4-berth home from home comes complete with integrated kitchen and bathroom areas, sky view roof lights, and has all the tech you'd expect from the latest 2025 model.
We'll also give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to make sure any adventures in your motorhome are taken in style.
For a chance to win the motorhome and cash, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. The winner will be contacted live on GB News, week commencing 10th November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Miriam, you can't be serious. Scrapping the triple lock on state pensions? Madness.
Andrew, we just can't carry on pretending. The numbers just don't add up. We've got to be honest with people. We've got to face the facts. That's what people want.
Well, that's what you get on GB News and on Britain's Newsroom. Lively debates, lively conversation.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first, and we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
Welcome back to Breakfast. Now, the #TheyKnew campaign, led by Rochdale whistleblower Maggie Oliver, is seeking accountability for failures in addressing the grooming gang scandal. The group is fundraising to pursue legal action against public servants who neglected abuse victims.
Well, this initiative follows comments from Safeguarding Minister Jess Phillips, who emphasised that the grooming gang's inquiry should be thorough and stated that those found to have disgraced public office should face prison.
Let me say and be very clear, and it be taken away by everybody who I'm sure has the victim's best interests at heart, that it will cover what it needs to cover to uncover the truth. and no stone will be left unturned.
Well, we're joined now by GB News national reporter Charlie Peters. And Charlie, tell us a bit more about this campaign.
Well, Ellie and Cameron, this campaign launched earlier this year by Maggie Oliver, as you said, the Rochdale whistleblower who exposed the scandal in that borough in Greater Manchester. They want to bring civil claims against public servants who failed victims of these grooming abuse networks. And they launched that process because, as we've seen over a number of years now, there's been a failure, in their view, to deal with those issues at the state level. And what you heard Jess Phillips there saying in the Commons yesterday was that she thought anyone who was found guilty of misconduct in a public office should be, pursued by the court system and jailed if they did so. But speaking to lawyers who represent survivors last night, many of them told me that they had very little confidence indeed that would ever happen. Many of them saying, and these are leading lawyers who've represented dozens of abuse victims, saying that what they instead expect would be that public officials could be exposed for having used ignorant or dangerous language about victims, such as describing them, as we've seen in some cases, as child prostitutes, really archaic and Victorian language to refer to children who were abused. But as we know, this language was used regularly throughout the start of this century. So Maggie Oliver's group, that They Knew campaign, they told me last night that they had very little confidence that what Jess Phillips was talking about last night would actually happen. They said the mechanisms aren't in place. And this is another example, they said, of more rhetoric instead of action. And it comes as the government is facing a lot of criticism. It's been almost 3 months now since this public inquiry was announced. 3 months, still no chair, still no terms of reference. And for those survivors, more months of waiting for the justice they deserve.
Peters there for us in Westminster. Thank you very much. Now, Britain's newsroom is coming up at 9:30. Andrew Pearce and Michelle Dewberry are here to tell us all about it.
Michelle Dewberry.
Yes, you've got double Dubes today because you've got me on Britain's newsroom and you've got me on at 6 o'clock as well.
Can never be enough Dubes.
Well, you said it was a good treat, but I said you might not be saying that at 12
No,
o'clock.
of course you won't.
You might be absolutely devastated. Well, we've got lots coming up, haven't we? We're going to get stuck right into this whole free speech situation. Frank Furedi wrote a brilliant column on this, so we'll be talking to him. Digital ID cards rolled out to the masses, got great guests on that.
The latest panic measure to try to stop the small boats crossing the channel. How's that going to work? It isn't.
And this whole notion that, because people feel like Britain is on the edge, is that true? Or are politicians whipping it up for their own reasons? We'll have a brilliant guest as well on that. We've got lots to get stuck into, haven't we?
Yeah, I
better get a coffee.
I'm having a debate on Boris Johnson too. What he said, Catherine Forster's rather good interview.
Yeah.
So don't go anywhere because we've got a bit longer. We can talk a bit longer.
All right.
A bit longer.
Yeah, exactly.
What else have you got for us?
Yeah, what else have we got? Well, we've got Stephen Pound, we've got Mike Parry, of course, your
Lovely
two regulars.
We love those two.
Yeah, they're very
And
good.
we're going to try and remain friends right up until 12 o'clock. Someone promise.
Don't go anywhere. We'll be back in a moment. Britain's newsroom first. Here's your weather.
Today, clouds overhead. Total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Some heavy downpours expected this morning, particularly across the south where there is a Met Office yellow weather warning in force. Behind this, thundery showers, and it is going to be a blustery day for all. Heavy outbreaks of rain pushing their way eastwards, eventually skirting in parts of Scotland, northern parts of England. It's certainly going to be an unsettled day for all, with outbreaks of rain this often turning heavy and possibly even thundery. Perhaps turning a little brighter across central and southern parts into the afternoon, but in between some heavy thundery showers as well. And it is going to be a fairly breezy day, particularly across the south where we are expecting some coastal gales at times. Highs reaching around 22 degrees Celsius in the south, but obviously the unsettled day offsetting those temperatures. Further spells are expected as we head through into the evening, particularly across Scotland, northern parts of England, still pushing their way northwards, lingering across the Northern Isles through much of the night. Brightening up across Northern Ireland, northern parts of England, but still once again a chance of heavy blustery showers, and fairly similar across the rest of England and Wales. There is a chance of showers still, particularly in the west, perhaps turning a little dry across parts of East Anglia, central and southeast England. Now, for a time, once any heavy rain pushes away across the far northeast of the country, we'll see some drier, clearer spells, but still a continuation of showers across the northwestern half of the country, and then once again a return of longer, heavy spells of rain pushing into the far southwest, still remaining fairly blustery here, but elsewhere winds should turn fairly light, and a mostly mild night, lows reaching around 11 to 12 degrees Celsius. Across the south, once again, that's where we'll see the bulk of the rain on Thursday. A heavy band of rain just pushing into central parts of East Anglia and southeast England through the course of the morning. It should eventually break up, turning more towards heavy showers by the time we reach the afternoon. And we're still expecting plenty of showers scattered across the country, even as we head towards later into the day. Once again, highs reaching around 21 degrees Celsius, but another unsettled day ahead.
Today, clouds overhead. Total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good morning, this is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. Motorists face delays on the A8 eastbound at Eurocentral due to a broken down vehicle. Proceed with caution and allow extra time. In Bedford, a breakdown on the A1 northbound between junctions A421 and A428 has closed one lane. On the M25 clockwise between junction 5 and 6, an incident involving multiple vehicles causes 50-minute delays, closing one of 4 lanes. And on the trains, East Midlands Railway reports delays between London St Pancras International and Luton, and the Elizabeth line faces disruption between Romford and Shenfield. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Britain's newsroom, weekday mornings from 9:30.
Good morning, Graham. What's your view on the latest comments about the gender of the next James Bond? Should there be one?
Well, there obviously should be a James Bond, but it should never be a woman. I think this is something that was in the media and the press some years ago that's kind of been dragged up to a degree. It's a nonsense. It was a nonsense when it was first spoken about some years ago, and it's just